3 hours of bizarre evolution facts to fall asleep to. Komodo dragons reproducing via parthenogenesis. On the remote islands of Indonesia, where volcanic peaks rise above dense forests and dry savannas stretch into the horizon, one of Earth's most formidable reptiles reigns supreme, the Komodo dragon. These massive lizards, known for their sheer size, venom-laced bites, and predatory prowess, have another extraordinary trait hidden in their biology. When necessary, female Komodo dragons can reproduce without mating at all, bypassing the need for a male entirely. This process, known as parthenogenesis, is rare among vertebrates, yet it allows these ancient reptiles to sustain their lineage under the harshest conditions. Typically, Komodo dragons reproduce sexually. Males and females engage in mating rituals, and fertilized eggs are carefully buried and guarded until they hatch. But in certain circumstances, such as when a female is isolated from males, she can switch to parthenogenetic reproduction. This involves producing offspring from unfertilized eggs. Without any genetic contribution from a male, the young are essentially clones of their mother. What makes this process even more fascinating is that it doesn't always produce genetically identical offspring. Komodo dragons have a particular type of sex determination system, different from mammals. In Komodos, males have ZZ sex chromosomes and females have WZ chromosomes. Through parthenogenesis, a female can only produce eggs with Z chromosomes, resulting in male offspring. In other words, parthenogenesis not only enables reproduction in isolation, but also ensures that males are born, potentially paving the way for a return to sexual reproduction in subsequent generations. This dual reproductive strategy offers Komodo dragons a powerful evolutionary advantage. On isolated islands, where mates might be scarce or populations are small, parthenogenesis allows a lone female to re-establish a breeding population. Over time, this ensures that the species can persist even in the face of environmental challenges, habitat fragmentation, or sudden population losses. But why would such a reproductive mode evolve in the first place? Scientists suspect it may be an ancient adaptation that surfaces only under extreme conditions. Most of the time, Komodo dragons rely on sexual reproduction to maintain genetic diversity, which is critical for long-term survival and adaptability. However, the ability to reproduce without a mate provides a biological safety net, a way to keep the species alive when the usual reproductive pathways are unavailable. This remarkable capability not only highlights the resilience of Komodo dragons, but also forces us to reconsider the boundaries of reproduction in vertebrates. Parthenogenesis challenges the idea that complex life always requires two parents. Instead, it shows us that evolution has created fallback options, strategies that allow life to persist against the odds. In the case of the Komodo dragon, this adaptability has helped cement its place as a master survivor, one whose extraordinary biology is as awe-inspiring as its formidable presence on the islands it calls home. The immortal jellyfish, resetting its life cycle. Beneath the waves, drifting gently among the currents, there is a creature that seems to defy the most fundamental law of life, that all living things must eventually die. This is Turritopsis dohrnii, a jellyfish so small and delicate it could easily escape notice, yet so extraordinary it has been dubbed the immortal jellyfish. It's a creature not of myth or science fiction, but of reality, living in oceans around the world. Unlike nearly every other animal on Earth, Turritopsis dohrnii has discovered a way to rewind the clock on its own existence. Most jellyfish begin life as tiny larvae, which settle on a surface and grow into polyps. Over time, these polyps give rise to mature jellyfish, free-floating, bell-shaped creatures that pulse through the sea, feeding, reproducing, and eventually succumbing to old age or predation. For other jellyfish, this is the end of the story. But not for Turritopsis dohani. When faced with injury, starvation, or other stresses, this jellyfish can do something extraordinary. It reverts its mature cells back to their juvenile forms. The bell collapses, the tentacles retract, and the creature returns to a polyp-like stage. Its cells undergo transdifferentiation, transforming from one type to another, effectively starting the life cycle anew. From that juvenile stage, it can grow back into an adult jellyfish, restarting the process as many times as it needs. This ability raises profound questions about the nature of aging and mortality. What does it mean for an animal to escape the cycle of birth, maturity, and death? By resetting itself, Turritopsis dohani isn't exactly living forever. It can still fall prey to predators or be destroyed by disease. But it's not aging in the traditional sense. In a world where all living things are supposed to follow a linear timeline from birth to death, this jellyfish has found a loophole. It also forces us to consider what aging really is. For most organisms, aging involves the gradual accumulation of damage, DNA errors, protein malfunctions, cellular wear and tear. These processes lead to a decline in function and eventually death. But Turritopsis dohani seems to bypass this decline entirely. Instead of aging forward, it ages backward, returning its cells to a pristine, youthful state. What's more, it can do this repeatedly, cycling between adult and juvenile forms without any apparent loss of viability. This discovery has implications far beyond the jellyfish itself. In many ways, Turritopsis dohani is a challenge to our assumptions about the inevitability of aging. If one small, simple animal can avoid growing old, could there be other organisms, perhaps larger, more complex ones, that have found similar strategies? And what does this mean for our understanding of biological immortality? Is it a rare fluke of nature? Or is it a possibility that life on Earth might explore more often than we think? Scientists have only just begun to understand the cellular and genetic mechanisms that allow Turritopsis dohani to reset its life cycle. If we could unlock the secrets of this jellyfish's abilities, it might one day lead to breakthroughs in human medicine. Imagine treatments that could repair or reverse the damage of aging, regenerating cells and tissues to restore youth and vitality. It's a tantalizing idea, one that stretches the limits of science and ethics. But even if we never harness these powers for ourselves, the existence of Turritopsis dohani forces us to reconsider the natural world's boundaries. It reminds us that life's rules are not as fixed as they seem. In the depths of the ocean, evolution has found a way to defy time, not with some mythical fountain of youth, but with a quiet, almost invisible organism drifting along the currents. And so, the immortal jellyfish becomes a symbol of life's potential to surprise us. It is a living, pulsing reminder that nature's creativity knows no bounds, that the line between life and death is not always as clear as we think. Above all, it challenges us to wonder, if aging can be undone in the sea's simplest creatures, what other mysteries might lie waiting, hidden beneath the waves? Tardigrades surviving in the vacuum of space. Picture yourself drifting through the infinite stillness of space. No air surrounds you, no ground anchors you, and no sound can reach you. The environment is utterly unforgiving. Temperatures drop to near absolute zero, while radiation rips through the vacuum unchecked. Without any atmosphere to filter these rays, they bombard everything in their path, breaking apart fragile DNA strands and obliterating cellular structures. In such a hostile setting, Even the most robust life forms on Earth would perish in moments. But now, imagine a different kind of survivor. Floating in this same desolation is a creature smaller than a grain of sand. It has stubby legs, a rounded body, and an almost cartoonish appearance. Known as the tardigrade, or water bear, it possesses an almost supernatural ability to endure conditions that would annihilate nearly every other organism. Tardigrades are not new to adversity. For over 500 million years, they've weathered planetary mass extinctions, the ice ages, asteroid impacts, and drastic shifts in climate. They can survive boiling heat, freezing cold, crushing pressures at the ocean's depths, and exposure to chemicals that would dissolve other cells. But what makes them truly remarkable is their ability to endure the vacuum of space itself, conditions so extreme that scientists once assumed no life could exist there. How do these tiny creatures pull off such an extraordinary feat? When faced with extreme environments, tardigrades enter a state known as cryptobiosis. In this state, they shut down their metabolism almost entirely. Their cells expel most of their water and replace it with trehalose, a sugar-like substance that forms a protective matrix. This glassy structure prevents ice crystals from forming during freezing conditions, stabilizes proteins and membranes, and shields their DNA from radiation damage. Essentially, the tardigrade halts time inside its body. It stops living in the traditional sense and becomes a near indestructible capsule of potential life. In 2007, tardigrades were sent into space aboard the European Space Agency's Photon M3 mission. For 10 days, they floated outside Earth's protective atmosphere, directly exposed to the vacuum and cosmic radiation. Upon returning to Earth and being rehydrated, they came back to life. These tiny creatures didn't just survive the voyage, they thrived. Some even laid eggs that hatched normally. This resilience raises profound questions about the nature of life. If tardigrades can suspend their biological processes and survive in an environment as hostile as outer space, are they truly subject to the same evolutionary pressures as other organisms? When a tardigrade curls into its cryptobiotic state, it steps outside the usual flow of time. It neither grows nor changes, waiting for conditions to improve before resuming its life. In this way, it's not adapting to survive its environment. It's enduring, unchanged, until the world becomes habitable again. What's more, tardigrades demonstrate that life's tenacity is not limited to large, complex organisms. They show that the tiniest forms of life can be the toughest, able to withstand extremes that would tear apart more delicate forms of biology. This hints at the possibilities for life elsewhere in the universe. If tardigrades can survive space's vacuum, perhaps life doesn't require the cozy conditions we typically associate with habitability. Maybe it's more adaptable, more resilient, and more ubiquitous than we dare to imagine. The story of the tardigrade challenges us to rethink the boundaries of biology. It forces us to confront the idea that life isn't necessarily defined by continuous metabolism or reproduction. It may exist in a suspended state, waiting silently for the right conditions to awaken. In this sense, tardigrades expand our understanding of what it means to be alive. They reveal that even in the harshest, most barren environments, life, however small and unassuming, can find a way to persist. Ultimately, tardigrades aren't just survivors. They're a testament to nature's ingenuity. In their tiny bodies, they carry the secrets of resilience, showing that life's simplest forms may be its most enduring. In doing so, they remind us that survival doesn't always come down to strength or size. Sometimes, it's about patience, adaptability, and the quiet ability to outlast everything else. Zombie ants. controlled by parasitic fungi. Imagine a dense rainforest at dawn. Mist clings to the air. Sunlight filters through the canopy in soft, dappled patches, and the jungle pulses with life. Every surface teems with activity. Beetles burrow into the soil. Leaf cutter ants march in unbroken lines, and birds call to each other from unseen perches. Beneath this lively chaos, however, a silent drama is unfolding. A single ant begins to act strangely. It abandons the trail its colony has carefully laid, climbing a nearby plant stem with an unsettling precision. This lone ant marches higher and higher until it reaches a leaf at just the right height, angle, and orientation. Once there, it stops. Its mandibles clamp down on the underside of the leaf, locking into place, and then quietly, it dies. The cause of this eerie behavior is a microscopic spore that had lodged itself within the ant's body days earlier. This spore, from the parasitic fungus Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, has taken over its host, turning the ant into little more than a vehicle for the fungus's reproduction. By releasing chemical compounds, the fungus manipulates the ant's nervous system, directing it to a precise location and posture. From this position, the fungus begins its grisly work. It grows inside the ant's corpse, sending out a stalk that emerges through the head. Over the next several days, the stalk matures, releasing spores into the air, which float downward to infect more ants. What makes this phenomenon so chilling is how thoroughly the fungus controls the ant's actions. The infected ant doesn't wander aimlessly. It climbs to a very specific height, grips a leaf at a very specific angle, and dies at the perfect moment. All of this ensures that the fungus's spores can disperse most effectively. In a sense, the fungus has hijacked the ant's free will, steering its behavior for the parasite's benefit. This leads to profound questions about the relationship between parasite and host. Did the fungus intentionally evolve this ability to control an ant's movements? Or did it arise gradually, over millions of years, through tiny mutations that gave each new generation of fungus a better chance to spread? Could it be that what appears to us as deliberate mind control is simply the end result of countless evolutionary pressures, each shaping the fungus into a more efficient reproductive machine? The implications go beyond ants and fungi. If a parasite can so completely manipulate the actions of another creature, it forces us to rethink what autonomy really means. How much of what any organism does is truly free, and how much is driven by unseen influences, be they environmental, biological, or something else entirely. In the ant's case, its brain and muscles are still functioning, but its behavior is no longer its own. This blurring of control challenges our understanding of agency, not just in ants, but in all living beings. In a larger sense, the zombie ant phenomenon is a testament to the creativity of evolution. The natural world is not only a battleground for survival of the fittest, it's a stage for some of the most bizarre and intricate strategies ever developed. By transforming an ant into a living spore launcher, the Ophiocordyceps fungus has demonstrated that survival isn't only about strength or speed. Sometimes it's about finesse, finding ways to exploit another organism so completely that your own survival becomes a given. This story, unsettling as it may be, offers a window into the complexity of life. It reminds us that the relationships between organisms are rarely simple, that the balance of life and death, predator and prey, host and parasite, can take forms we might never have imagined. The zombie ant is more than a cautionary tale from nature's dark side. It's a reminder of how little we truly understand about the countless interactions that keep ecosystems running. And so, As the rainforest returns to its daytime rhythm, with the calls of birds and the hum of insects filling the air, the ant's grim fate becomes just another thread in the intricate tapestry of life. The fungus has completed its task, releasing new spores to drift on the wind. The cycle begins anew, a quiet yet profound example of how evolution shapes even the strangest and most unsettling relationships. Male seahorses that carry pregnancies. In the shallow, shimmering waters of a seagrass meadow, where sunlight filters down in golden streaks and gentle currents sway the greenery, a remarkable event is taking place. Among the darting fish and slow-crawling crabs, a pair of seahorses perform an intricate dance. They spiral together, their tails entwining briefly before parting again, then circling once more. The female gently transfers her eggs into the male's brood pouch, a specialized chamber on his abdomen, and swims away. From that moment on, it is the male who becomes the guardian of new life. This is not a minor role reversal. In the vast majority of animal species, females bear the physical burden of pregnancy, nurturing their offspring from egg to birth. But in seahorses and their relatives, the males take on this responsibility, sheltering the developing young in a protected environment. Inside the male's pouch, the eggs are fertilized, oxygenated, and nourished. Over time, his body adjusts, hormones shift, the pouch expands, and he essentially becomes pregnant in a way that parallels the process in many mammals. As the embryos grow, they remain tucked safely inside, shielded from predators and the turbulent conditions of the open sea. Unlike free-floating eggs, which often fall victim to opportunistic fish or changes in water temperature, the brood pouch offers a controlled environment. The male's body carefully regulates the oxygen levels and salinity, ensuring the optimal conditions for the developing young. When the time comes, the male seahorse goes into labor. He contracts his pouch muscles, often bracing himself against nearby plants or coral, and delivers dozens, sometimes hundreds, of tiny, fully formed seahorses into the water. These miniature replicas of their parents are immediately independent, swimming away to find food and shelter. The male's role in their development is complete, and he is free to mate again, potentially carrying another clutch of eggs soon after. This unique reproductive strategy raises fascinating questions about why and how such a reversal of roles evolved. Why would nature favor males taking on the physical demands of pregnancy? Some researchers suggest that it's a way to increase reproductive efficiency. By having males carry the offspring, females can produce more eggs more quickly, knowing their current brood is safely housed and cared for. This division of labor allows the species to maximize its reproductive output. Others point out the advantages of the brood pouch itself. In environments where eggs are highly vulnerable, carrying them internally offers a tremendous survival benefit. It's a portable, adaptable nursery that lets the male move to safer areas, find better feeding grounds, or avoid predators without risking the young inside. Over countless generations, this arrangement may have proved so successful that it became a defining feature of seahorses and their relatives. But the story of male pregnancy isn't just about practicalities. It challenges our deeply ingrained assumptions about gender roles in nature. We're accustomed to thinking of females as the ones who carry, nurture, and give birth. The seahorse's reversal of these roles forces us to reconsider what we know about reproduction, highlighting the incredible diversity of strategies that evolution has produced. It's a reminder that the natural world doesn't abide by human conventions. It experiments, innovates, and adapts in ways that often defy our expectations. This evolutionary twist also underscores the delicate balance of marine ecosystems. Seahorses are often seen as a symbol of healthy seagrass beds and coral reefs. They rely on these habitats for protection and food, just as these habitats rely on the seahorses to maintain their intricate webs of life. The male's pouch, so carefully adapted to nurturing his young, is a small but crucial part of this larger system. It ensures that the next generation can survive, keeping the population stable and maintaining the delicate ecological balance. So, as you watch a male seahorse glide through the water, his pouch swelling with new life, consider the quiet revolution he represents. In his unique role, he shows us that life's possibilities are boundless, that there's no single right way to reproduce. Evolution, in all its creativity, has given us a glimpse of something extraordinary, a world where fathers give birth and the boundaries of biology are not as fixed as they seem. Anglerfish, males, fusing into females as parasites, descend into the ocean's inky black depths, far below the sunlit waves. Here, where sunlight never penetrates and the water pressure is almost unimaginable, life takes on forms that can seem almost alien. Many creatures here rely on camouflage, bioluminescence, or extreme patience to find food. Among them, the female anglerfish stands out, a bizarre, otherworldly predator. Her body is stout and dark, a perfect silhouette in the shadowy waters. From her forehead dangles a glowing lure, a tiny orb of light at the end of a thin filament. This bioluminescent beacon is her secret weapon, enticing smaller fish to draw near. They swim toward the light, curious or unaware, until her enormous jaws snap shut in an instant, swallowing them whole. In this pitch-black realm, she is a master of deception, a predator who wields her own personal lantern. But it's not just her hunting technique that makes the anglerfish extraordinary. It's her relationship with the much smaller, almost pitifully diminutive male. Unlike the female, the male anglerfish is tiny, often less than a tenth of her size. He lacks the glowing lure, the formidable teeth, and the robust body. His sole purpose in life is to find a mate, and in the vast, dark ocean, that's no easy feat. With so few opportunities to reproduce, he must act quickly and decisively when he encounters a female. Once he does, his behavior is unlike any other vertebrate. Instead of a brief mating or a seasonal partnership, he latches onto her body permanently. His mouth clamps onto her skin, and over time, their tissues merge. Blood vessels connect, and he becomes physically and biologically part of her. His organs waste away, leaving only the essential, his testes. Now fused into the female's body, he provides sperm on demand whenever she needs it. This strange arrangement is called sexual parasitism, though some researchers debate whether the term parasitism is fair. After all, both the male and the female benefit in their own way. The female no longer needs to search for a mate each breeding season. She always has one available, fused to her side. The male, meanwhile, ensures that his genetic material will be passed on. He no longer has to compete or struggle to survive independently. He is protected, fed, and able to fulfill his reproductive role with minimal effort. The evolution of this relationship raises profound questions. How did such a bizarre strategy come about? Was it born out of necessity, a response to the deep sea's vast emptiness and the extreme difficulty of finding a mate? Over countless generations, perhaps males who stayed close to females had a better chance of reproducing, and natural selection gradually turned that closeness into a physical union. Today, many species of anglerfish exhibit this parasitic fusion, a testament to how evolution can find solutions that seem utterly outlandish by surface world standards. Beyond the biological mechanics, this reproductive strategy challenges our understanding of individuality. Once the male fuses with the female, does he cease to exist as a separate being? In a sense, he becomes an appendage of her body, a functional organ rather than an independent life form. This blurs the boundaries of what we consider an individual organism. It's a rare, almost poetic merging of two lives into one, driven not by choice but by the cold logic of survival. And what of the female, carrying the weight, literally, of multiple males fused to her body? Some females host several at a time, turning their bodies into living reproductive systems that ensure their lineage's continuity. In the lightless depths, where energy is precious and opportunities are few, this extreme partnership ensures that neither partner has to expend resources searching for the other. This strange symbiotic relationship underscores the incredible diversity of life's strategies. The deep sea, so far removed from our terrestrial experience, often feels like a realm of science fiction. But these anglerfish remind us that nature's creativity is boundless. It doesn't operate on our terms or follow our expectations. Instead, it crafts relationships and adaptations that defy easy explanation, blending biology and ecology into forms so strange they border on surreal. As the female anglerfish drifts through the dark, her glowing lure casting a faint, eerie light, she carries not just the hope of her species' survival, but the lingering mystery of evolution's boundless imagination. She and her fused companions are a testament to how life's most profound adaptations often occur where we least expect them, hidden away in the deepest, darkest corners of our planet. The mantis shrimp, with a punch that rivals a .22 caliber bullet. The shallow, sunlit coral reefs of the world's tropical oceans are home to countless colorful and bizarre creatures. Among them is the mantis shrimp, a crustacean whose dazzling appearance belies its astonishing power. Often adorned with vivid shades of green, orange, and blue, the mantis shrimp resembles a miniature work of art. Yet what sets it apart is not its beauty, but its deadly, high-speed punch. This small creature, which can grow to just a few inches in length, possesses specialized forelimbs that act like spring-loaded clubs. When a mantis shrimp strikes, it unleashes one of the fastest movements in the animal kingdom. The limb accelerates at speeds exceeding 50 miles per hour, generating immense force in a split second. In fact, the impact is so powerful that it can shatter the hard shells of crabs, snails, and clams, which are the mantis shrimp's favored prey. With a strike force comparable to a .22 caliber bullet, it's no surprise that aquarists have nicknamed the mantis shrimp thumb splitters, due to their ability to break through aquarium glass and human skin if handled carelessly. But the mantis shrimp's strike is not just a simple punch. The speed and force of the movement create an effect known as cavitation. When the limb moves, it generates a pressure wave so intense that it produces tiny vapor-filled bubbles in the surrounding water. As these bubbles collapse, they release heat, light, and sound, creating a secondary shockwave. This double strike, both the physical blow and the resulting cavitation, ensures that even heavily armored prey have little chance of escape. How did such an extreme adaptation evolve? Mantis shrimp have been honing their predatory skills for over 400 million years, a span of time that dwarfs the existence of the dinosaurs. Over countless generations, their unique hunting strategy has been refined. Their spring-loaded appendages are controlled by a complex system of muscles, tendons, and exoskeletal latches that store and release incredible amounts of energy in a fraction of a second. This evolutionary arms race, driven by the need to crack open tough-shelled prey, has resulted in one of the most specialized and effective predatory tools in the animal kingdom. But the mantis shrimp isn't just a brute, it's also a visual marvel. These creatures have some of the most sophisticated eyes in the animal world, capable of detecting a range of colors and polarized light far beyond human perception. Their remarkable vision likely helps them precisely target their prey, further enhancing their already formidable hunting ability. In the mantis shrimp, we see a perfect example of nature's ingenuity. Here is an animal that combines beauty, speed, precision, and raw power. It is a creature that has pushed the limits of what a small marine predator can achieve, turning its humble claws into one of the ocean's most formidable weapons. And in doing so, it reminds us that even in the smallest, most colorful corners of the natural world, evolutionary innovation can pack an extraordinary punch. Bombardier beetles spraying boiling chemicals. In the unassuming world of insects, where camouflage, flight, and sheer numbers often dictate survival, the bombardier beetle stands out as a chemical weapon specialist. These beetles, found in forests, grasslands, and deserts worldwide, are not particularly large or fearsome at first glance. Yet, when threatened, they unleash a defensive maneuver so startling, so precise, that it has earned them a reputation as some of nature's most remarkable alchemists. The bombardier beetle's defense relies on an internal chemical reaction that would make a chemist marvel. Within its abdomen, it houses two separate chambers, one containing hydroquinones, the other hydrogen peroxide. When the beetle senses danger, whether it's a curious bird, a hungry frog, or an inquisitive human finger, it triggers a reaction by mixing these chemicals in a specialized reaction chamber. The result is almost instantaneous. A boiling, noxious spray of quinones and steam erupts from the beetle's rear, directed precisely at the attacker. This isn't just a random squirt of hot liquid. The beetle's spray is released in rapid, controlled bursts, up to 500 times per second, allowing it to hit moving targets with impressive accuracy. The scalding temperature of the chemical spray, combined with its irritating properties, is more than enough to deter predators. Many attackers are left stunned, singed, and utterly convinced to seek their meal elsewhere. But how did such a complex system evolve? The bombardier beetle's chemical arsenal is believed to have developed gradually over millions of years. What likely began as a simple deterrent, low-level chemical irritants, was honed by natural selection into a high-pressure chemical cannon. Each improvement in accuracy, temperature, and toxicity increased the beetle's chances of survival, eventually resulting in the sophisticated weaponry it wields today. The beetle's remarkable defense strategy also raises broader questions about the interplay of evolution and innovation. What selective pressures drove the development of such an intricate system, and how has the beetle managed to avoid blowing itself up in the process? The answer lies in the precision of its anatomy. Special valves and heat-resistant linings ensure that the reaction occurs safely within the beetle's body, protecting it from the very chemicals it deploys. In the natural world, where survival often hinges on outsmarting or outmaneuvering predators, the bombardier beetle's boiling spray stands as a testament to evolution's ingenuity. It's a reminder that even in the smallest creatures, nature can engineer defenses as effective and sophisticated as any human invention. Naked mole rats, living in eusocial colonies, beneath the sun-scorched earth of East Africa, in labyrinthine burrows hidden from view. A peculiar mammal thrives in what might be considered the ultimate expression of teamwork. This is the naked mole rat, a small, hairless creature that lives not as an individual, but as part of a highly structured community. In a world where most mammals fiercely defend their independence, the naked mole rat operates more like a colony of bees or ants. It's one of the only truly eusocial mammals, a status so rare it defies our typical understanding of how mammals organize their lives. In the darkness of their subterranean homes, these mole rats divide labor with remarkable efficiency. A single queen rules the colony, the only female allowed to reproduce. The rest of the group, made up of workers and soldiers, dedicate their lives to supporting her. Workers dig out the tunnels, gather food, and care for the young, while soldiers defend the colony from intruders. The entire society is geared toward the survival of the colony as a whole, rather than any individual member. This eusocial structure has enabled naked mole rats to thrive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Their underground burrows protect them from extreme temperatures, predators, and food scarcity. By pooling their efforts, they can forage more efficiently, rear their offspring collectively, and respond to threats as a unified front. In a sense, their cooperative nature is their most potent survival tool. But how did a mammal, a group usually characterized by individual reproduction and competition, evolve such a system? Scientists believe that the mole rat's environment played a crucial role. Food in their habitat is often scarce and dispersed, making solitary living a risky gamble. By banding together, mole rats improve their odds of finding and sharing resources. Over time, natural selection likely favored those colonies that worked together most effectively, leading to the complex social structures we see today. There's another fascinating twist. Naked mole rats are not only eusocial, they're also exceptionally hardy. They can tolerate conditions that would kill most mammals, including very low oxygen levels. Their bodies are adapted to conserve energy and survive in near-constant hypoxia. This resilience further enhances their ability to live underground and maintain their colonies over the long term. The naked mole rat's life is a testament to the power of cooperation and specialization. It challenges our perception of what it means to be a mammal, offering a glimpse into how evolution can shape social behavior in unexpected ways. By forming societies as tightly knit as any insect colony, these wrinkled, unassuming creatures have become one of nature's most extraordinary examples of teamwork, proving that sometimes survival depends not on the strength of the individual, but on the collective will of the many. Clownfish switching sexes in a hierarchy. In the colorful underwater world of coral reefs, clownfish dart among the tentacles of sea anemones, their bright orange bodies and bold white stripes flashing like beacons. These fish are more than just beloved characters in marine ecosystems. They're living proof that nature's reproductive strategies can be as fluid as the water they inhabit. Clownfish don't adhere to fixed roles. Instead, they live within a unique social structure where dominance and size determine not only status, but also sex. At the heart of every clownfish group is a strict hierarchy. The largest and most dominant individual is female, and her mate, the second largest, is male. The rest of the group consists of smaller, non-reproductive males, waiting for their chance to move up the ladder. Should the dominant female die, something remarkable occurs. The next largest male undergoes a transformation, changing sex and becoming the new female. Meanwhile, one of the smaller males steps into the now vacant male role. This sequential hermaphroditism, a switch in reproductive roles, ensures that the group can continue reproducing without the need for external newcomers. The process isn't instant. The transitioning fish undergoes physiological changes, altering hormone levels and reconfiguring its reproductive anatomy. Over time, what was once a fully functional male becomes a fully functional female, ready to lay eggs and sustain the group. This ability to switch sexes is not only a fascinating biological feat, it's also a highly efficient reproductive strategy. In environments where clownfish colonies may be isolated or populations may be limited, having a built-in system to replace lost breeding members ensures the survival of the group. But how did such a system evolve? Coral reefs are competitive and resource-limited environments. Space within anemones is at a premium, and clownfish rely on these host anemones for protection from predators. The hierarchical system helps maintain order within the group, minimizing conflict and ensuring that reproductive roles are always filled. By linking social dominance with reproductive potential, clownfish can adapt to changing circumstances. If a dominant female is lost, the group doesn't collapse. It simply reorganizes itself, maintaining stability and continuity. Clownfish remind us that the natural world often defies rigid categories. Their ability to transform from male to female highlights the incredible flexibility of reproductive strategies among animals. More than that, it demonstrates the dynamic relationship between biology and environment. In a coral reef's complex ecosystem, clownfish have found a way to thrive by embracing change, fluidly adapting to the challenges of their surroundings. Basilisk lizards, running on water, along the winding rivers and shaded streams of Central and South America's tropical forests, an extraordinary spectacle often unfolds. A sleek green lizard, perhaps a foot long, waits at the water's edge. At first glance, it appears no different from the countless other reptiles that skitter across the forest floor. But then, startled by a predator's approach or a falling branch, it does something astonishing. It sprints onto the surface of the water, dashing across the liquid barrier as if it were solid ground. This is the basilisk lizard, sometimes known as the Jesus Christ lizard, for its seemingly miraculous ability to walk on water. While other animals might dive in and swim, the basilisk relies on speed, precision, and an extraordinary adaptation of its feet and legs to achieve what appears impossible. At the heart of this feat is a combination of physics and biology. The basilisk's feet are long and flat, with fringed edges that spread out when they hit the water. As the lizard sprints, it slaps its feet down hard, creating pockets of air and generating just enough force to keep itself from sinking. Its rapid gait, up to 20 strides per second, ensures that it spends minimal time in contact with the water, reducing the likelihood of losing its balance. By pushing down and back at the right angles, the basilisk achieves forward momentum while also counteracting gravity. Essentially, it's running so quickly and forcefully that the surface tension of the water helps to support its weight, at least long enough to escape. But why evolve such a remarkable ability? For the basilisk lizard, speed is survival. The dense forests they inhabit are teeming with predators, snakes, birds, and larger reptiles, all eager to make a meal of these small lizards. The ability to dart across a river or stream provides an escape route where none would otherwise exist. In many cases, the water's surface is a boundary that predators can't easily cross. For the basilisk, it's a path to safety. The behavior likely emerged gradually through natural selection. Over countless generations, individuals that could dash more effectively across water likely had higher survival rates, passing on their genes. Eventually, these small advantages became more pronounced, resulting in the specialized limbs, muscular power, and rapid movement we see today. Beyond its practical survival value, the basilisk's water running has captivated scientists and inspired engineers. Researchers have studied its movements in detail, hoping to apply the principles of its locomotion to robotics and other fields. The lizard's ability to traverse a medium that most animals can't has become a model for solving human engineering challenges, from designing robots that move across liquid surfaces to understanding fluid dynamics in entirely new ways. Ultimately, the basilisk lizard's water walking is a reminder that the natural world often pushes the boundaries of what seems possible. In its daring sprints across rivers and streams, we see not only a clever survival strategy, but also a glimpse of nature's boundless creativity. The basilisk doesn't just move through its environment, it dances across it, defying gravity with every electrifying step. Platypuses hunting via electroreception. In the misty creeks and rivers of Australia's eastern landscapes, a peculiar mammal paddles along the water's edge. It's covered in dense, waterproof fur. It has the webbed feet of a duck, the tail of a beaver, and a bill so odd that when Europeans first encountered it, they thought it was a hoax. This is the platypus, an animal so singular in its design that it seems almost stitched together from parts of different species. Yet among its many unique traits, there is one that stands out above all: its ability to see with electricity. As the platypus glides underwater, it closes its eyes, ears, and nostrils, becoming effectively blind and deaf. In the dark, murky waters where it forages, sight and sound offer little advantage. Instead, the platypus relies on its bill, which is studded with thousands of sensory receptors. Some of these receptors detect pressure changes in the water, while others respond to the faint electrical signals produced by the movements of its prey. This remarkable ability, known as electroreception, allows the platypus to sense the tiny electric fields generated by the muscular contractions of insects, worms, and crustaceans buried in the riverbed. By sweeping its bill side to side, the platypus gathers information from these electric fields, effectively mapping out the location, size, and even movement of its hidden quarry. Once it zeroes in on a target, the platypus digs through the silt with its bill and scoops up its meal. Electroreception is rare among mammals. While many fish and amphibians use similar abilities to navigate or hunt, the platypus is one of only a handful of land-dwelling creatures capable of this kind of sensory perception. How it develops such a trait remains a subject of scientific curiosity. The platypus, a member of the ancient monotreme lineage, represents one of the most primitive branches of the mammalian family tree. This lineage split off long before the evolution of placental and marsupial mammals, suggesting that electroreception might be a deeply ancient sensory ability that was retained in this peculiar animal. What's even more fascinating is how finely tuned the platypus's bill is. Experiments have shown that it can detect electrical fields as faint as a few microvolts, so subtle that even the smallest twitch of a buried worm becomes a clear signal. This exquisite sensitivity gives the platypus a distinct advantage in its environment, allowing it to hunt successfully, even in complete darkness. It also opens up questions about how other early mammals might have once used similar senses before modern species evolved more dominant traits like advanced vision or keen hearing. The platypus's electroreceptive abilities also provide a deeper understanding of how life adapts to its surroundings. In the shadowy world of a riverbed, where light is scarce and sound often muddled, electricity offers a reliable and consistent guide. The platypus demonstrates that evolution will seize on any opportunity, no matter how unconventional, to give an organism the edge it needs to survive. In many ways, the platypus embodies the idea that nature's most successful adaptations are often the strangest. Its ability to hunt with electricity, defies our usual understanding of mammalian senses, showing us that even among warm-blooded, fur-covered creatures, evolution can take wildly unexpected turns. And so, this unique, ancient species paddles on, quietly demonstrating that the natural world is far more inventive and electrifying than we could have imagined. Giraffes evolving extreme blood pressure control. In the sun-soaked savannas of Africa, towering above the acacias and wildebeests, giraffes move gracefully across the landscape. These gentle giants are known for their extraordinary necks, which stretch skyward as they nibble on leaves beyond the reach of other herbivores. But the giraffe's most famous trait presents a biological puzzle that scientists have marveled at for centuries. How do these animals manage to pump blood all the way up their 6-foot-long necks to their brains without collapsing from the effort or from the intense pressure required? The giraffe's cardiovascular system is a feat of evolutionary engineering. To supply its brain with oxygenated blood, the giraffe's heart must generate enormous pressure, almost double that of the average mammal. This high blood pressure is necessary to push blood against gravity to the top of the giraffe's head. But maintaining such intense pressure comes with risks. In most animals, consistently high blood pressure would cause damage to delicate blood vessels, leading to strokes or aneurysms. Yet giraffes have evolved remarkable adaptations that not only allow them to survive, but to thrive under these conditions. One key adaptation lies in the giraffe's heart itself. This powerful muscular organ is exceptionally large, with thick walls that can handle the immense pressure required to pump blood up the neck. The left ventricle, in particular, is heavily reinforced, enabling the giraffe to maintain circulation without overexerting itself. In addition, giraffes have tight, elastic blood vessels in their necks that help control the flow of blood, reducing the risk of damage from sudden pressure changes. Another critical feature is the giraffe's specialized blood vessels and valves. When a giraffe lowers its head to drink, sometimes dropping it over 6 feet down to a watering hole, gravity shifts the dynamics entirely. Instead of blood struggling to reach the brain, it now rushes downward with tremendous force. Without safeguards, this could lead to dangerous spikes in blood pressure, or even cause the animal to faint. To prevent this, giraffes have evolved a series of one-way valves in their neck veins that control the flow of blood, keeping it from flooding the brain. These valves, combined with a dense network of capillaries known as the reta mirabile, act as a buffer system. When the giraffe raises its head again, these adaptations ensure that blood pressure adjusts smoothly and that the animal doesn't experience sudden lightheadedness or loss of consciousness. This intricate system didn't arise overnight. It evolved gradually as giraffes' ancestors began to stretch their necks toward higher foliage, competing for food that shorter herbivores couldn't reach. Over millions of years, the selective pressure to maintain blood flow to an ever more distant brain drove incremental changes in heart structure, vessel elasticity, and valve function. The result is a cardiovascular system so finely tuned that it can handle extremes of pressure with apparent ease. But the story doesn't end there. Giraffes' blood pressure control also has implications for human health. Researchers study giraffe physiology to understand how these animals avoid the complications typically associated with chronic high blood pressure. Insights from giraffe biology could one day lead to new treatments for hypertension, heart disease, and other circulatory conditions in humans. In giraffes, we see a perfect example of how evolution tailors organisms to their unique challenges. Every inch of their towering height, once thought to be a simple advantage in foraging, required profound internal changes to ensure survival. These long-necked herbivores remind us that even the most straightforward-seeming traits often rest upon complex, unseen adaptations. The giraffe's ability to stand tall is not just a feat of balance and bone. It's a triumph of biology's quiet, relentless ingenuity. The Red Queen. Hypothesis of perpetual evolutionary arms races. Picture a vibrant meadow at dawn. The air hums with the buzz of pollinators. Birds flit from tree to tree in search of insects, and predators stalk prey hidden among the grasses. On the surface, everything seems in balance, each species pursuing its role, each creature playing its part. Yet, underneath this tranquil scene, an invisible struggle unfolds, a ceaseless race that shapes every aspect of life. This is the essence of the Red Queen hypothesis, a concept that paints evolution not as a journey toward perfection, but as a never-ending contest of survival. First proposed by biologist Lee Van Vallen in the 1970s, the Red Queen hypothesis draws its name from a character in Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass. The Red Queen, running alongside Alice, explains that in her world, one must run as fast as possible just to stay in the same place. Similarly, in the natural world, species must constantly adapt, evolve, and refine their strategies simply to survive in an ever-changing environment. It's not about gaining a permanent advantage. It's about keeping up with the relentless pace of competition. Consider the arms race between predators and prey. A faster gazelle may elude the cheetah, ensuring its genes are passed on to the next generation. But this also places pressure on the cheetah to become faster, more agile, and more efficient in its hunting methods. Each incremental improvement in one species spurs a counter-adaptation in the other. The prey's improved defenses, speed, camouflage, sharp senses, force the predator to evolve sharper claws, keener eyesight, and greater endurance. Neither gains an ultimate victory. Rather, they maintain a precarious equilibrium, locked in a dynamic cycle of mutual escalation. But the Red Queen's race isn't limited to predators and prey. Parasites and hosts engage in their own evolutionary battles, with parasites evolving ever more sophisticated ways to infiltrate hosts' defenses, and hosts, in turn, developing more robust immune systems to fend them off. This dance of adaptation and counter-adaptation drives genetic diversity, influencing the development of traits as varied as immune responses, reproductive strategies, and even behaviors. The Red Queen hypothesis also provides insight into why sexual reproduction is so common in the natural world. While it's an energy-intensive and complex process, sexual reproduction shuffles genetic material, creating offspring that differ from their parents. This genetic variability acts as a moving target, making it harder for parasites to adapt to a single, unchanging host genotype. In this context, the Red Queen hypothesis suggests that sexual reproduction persists because it offers a constant advantage in the arms race against disease, ensuring that populations remain genetically nimble in the face of evolving threats. Yet, the Red Queen's relentless pace is not only a story of conflict. Cooperation and symbiosis, too, can be seen through this lens. Mutualistic relationships, like those between flowering plants and their pollinators, require each partner to evolve in step with the other. A plant that produces more enticing nectar may attract more pollinators, but those pollinators must also adapt to extract nectar more efficiently. Even in partnerships, both sides must continuously refine their roles to maintain the relationship's benefits. In the end, the Red Queen hypothesis reminds us that evolution is not a march toward a final goal. There is no end to adaptation, no ultimate pinnacle of fitness. Instead, life is characterized by perpetual change, driven by the constant pressure to keep pace with an ever-shifting environment. Every creature, from the tiniest microbe to the largest predator, is running this race, not to win, but to endure. This concept challenges the idea that evolution will one day produce a perfectly adapted species. Instead, it suggests that life's remarkable diversity arises from the continuous need to adapt, innovate, and respond. It's a dance that never ends, a ceaseless sprint that ensures the survival of the fittest is always measured by the speed of the next step forward. Leafcutter ants, farming, fungus in underground gardens, beneath the dense canopies of tropical rainforests, where sunlight barely penetrates and the air hums with the sounds of countless living things. A quiet marvel unfolds beneath your feet. Here, hidden from view, leafcutter ants carve out subterranean chambers, vast networks of tunnels that serve as both home and farm. These ants, tiny yet industrious, have perfected a complex agricultural system that predates human farming by millions of years. Leafcutter ants don't eat the leaves they tirelessly harvest. Instead, they carry these fragments back to their underground nests, where the leaves are carefully processed and turned into the perfect growing medium for their true food source, a specialized fungus. Within the darkness of their chambers, the ants maintain and cultivate this fungus, feeding it leaf pulp and protecting it from pests. In return, the fungus provides a nutritious, easily digestible food that sustains the colony. The process is astonishingly sophisticated. Worker ants chop leaves into small pieces and chew them into a pulp. Other workers carefully place this pulp onto fungal gardens, spongy, sponge-like structures that resemble small, greenish pillows. The fungus grows, producing tiny swollen structures called gongolidia, which the ants harvest and eat. Meanwhile, another caste of ants patrols the gardens, removing foreign mold spores or harmful bacteria that might invade the carefully maintained environment. It's a tightly controlled ecosystem, with each ant playing a specific role to ensure the health and productivity of their fungal crops. How did such an intricate relationship evolve? Scientists believe it began tens of millions of years ago, when ancestors of leafcutter ants started incorporating plant material into their diets. Over time, certain ant species may have discovered that decaying vegetation supported fungal growth, which in turn provided a more stable food source. The ants that relied on fungus had a selective advantage, as the fungus acted as a buffer against seasonal food shortages and environmental changes. Gradually, a mutualistic relationship emerged. The ants became dependent on the fungus for nutrition, and the fungus became dependent on the ants for propagation and protection. Today, leafcutter ants are considered one of the few non-human species that practice true agriculture. Their farming techniques are remarkably efficient. Some colonies can grow fungal gardens the size of a car, supplying enough food to sustain millions of individuals. The ants' ability to manage pests, optimize growing conditions, and maintain genetic uniformity in their crops rivals human agricultural methods in complexity and precision. Leafcutter ants also demonstrate how mutualistic relationships can drive evolutionary success. The partnership between ant and fungus has shaped both species, making them uniquely suited to their roles. The fungus no longer survives in the wild without its ant cultivators, and the ants have lost the ability to feed themselves without their fungal gardens. Together, they have formed a tightly knit ecological unit that supports not only their own survival, but also the health of the rainforest. By processing and decomposing plant material, they cycle nutrients through the soil, benefiting the broader ecosystem. In their quiet, subterranean world, leafcutter ants remind us that farming is not uniquely human. It is a universal strategy that emerges when species find ways to cooperate, to cultivate, and to sustain one another. Their underground gardens may be hidden from sight, but they stand as a testament to nature's ability to invent solutions far more intricate and ancient than we ever imagined. The self-destruct mating of male honeybees. In a sunlit field where flowering meadows hum with the sounds of busy bees, a single drone, the male honeybee, leaves the hive in search of a mate. While worker bees gather nectar and pollen to sustain the colony, the drone exists for only one purpose: to mate with a queen. But this mission is far from a romantic endeavor. In fact, it comes at the ultimate cost: his life. During the height of the season, virgin queens take their nuptial flight, soaring high above the ground. Drones from multiple colonies gather in these aerial mating zones, known as drone congregation areas. Here, the competition is fierce. Each drone's only chance to pass on its genes depends on its ability to catch up to a queen and successfully mate. When the moment arrives, a male latches onto the queen and deposits his sperm. But this act triggers a catastrophic event. As the drone completes mating, his endophallus, part of his reproductive anatomy, detaches, rupturing his abdomen. He falls away, mortally injured, and dies shortly thereafter. This self-destruct strategy might seem counterintuitive. Why would natural selection favor a mating process so lethal to the male? The answer lies in the complex social structure of honeybee colonies. Drones don't serve any direct role within the hive other than reproduction. They don't forage, defend the nest, or care for brood. Their sole purpose is to ensure the genetic continuation of their colony's lineage by mating with a queen, who will then lay thousands of eggs. Once they've fulfilled that purpose, their lives, in evolutionary terms, have served their function. From the queen's perspective, the drone's sacrificial mating also confers a reproductive advantage. The detachment of the male's reproductive organs helps seal her body, preventing sperm from leaking out. This ensures that she can store and utilize the genetic material more effectively over her lifetime, often for several years. By securing the queen's fertility, the drone's sacrifice indirectly ensures that his genetic line persists. In the grand scheme of honeybee reproduction, the sacrifice of individual drones is a small price to pay for the colony's long-term success. Drone congregation areas see thousands of males compete for a chance to mate with a single queen. Only a handful of drones succeed, but their genetic contribution supports the hive's future generations, creating a resilient and robust colony. The process, though brutal, has been refined through millennia of evolution, optimizing the survival of the colony over the survival of any single individual. This reproductive strategy also underscores the importance of altruism and selflessness in social insects. Honeybees operate as a superorganism where individual lives are secondary to the survival and prosperity of the colony as a whole. For the drone, the ultimate sacrifice, his death after mating, isn't a failure. It's the culmination of his purpose. By ensuring the queen's fertility, he helps secure the next generation of workers, drones, and future queens. In this way, the drone's life may be brief, but it is profoundly meaningful, woven into the complex collective life of the hive. Axolotls staying in a larval state for life. Deep within the cool, clear waters of high-altitude lakes in Mexico, an enigmatic creature glides lazily among the reeds. With feathery gills fanning out from its neck, a soft, pale body, and wide, expressive eyes, the axolotl appears almost otherworldly. What makes this aquatic salamander even more extraordinary, however, is not just its appearance. It's the fact that it never seems to grow up. Unlike most amphibians, which undergo a dramatic metamorphosis from larval stages to adult forms, the axolotl remains in its larval state throughout its entire life. This phenomenon, called neoteny, means that the axolotl retains juvenile features, external gills, a flattened tail, and fully aquatic habits, even as it reaches sexual maturity and reproduces. In essence, it skips the terrestrial adulthood stage that is the hallmark of most amphibians, instead thriving and reproducing while staying permanently young. Why would evolution favor such an unusual life cycle? For the axolotl, remaining in the water may have conferred significant survival advantages. The lakes and canals of its native habitat provide ample food, stable temperatures, and protection from many terrestrial predators. By foregoing the risky transition to land, axolotls avoid a phase of development that might expose them to hazards like predation or a less predictable environment. Instead, they reach reproductive maturity quickly and continue to thrive in a habitat that consistently meets their needs. Axolotls also possess another remarkable trait: their unparalleled regenerative abilities. Lose a limb and they can grow it back. Damage an organ and they can repair it. In some cases, they can even regenerate parts of their heart, spinal cord, and brain. This regenerative prowess has fascinated scientists for decades. By remaining in a larval state, axolotls retain the developmental pathways that allow for such rapid and efficient healing. This has led researchers to study their biology in hopes of unlocking secrets that could one day revolutionize human medicine, such as treatments for spinal injuries, degenerative diseases, or organ failure. The axolotl story is also one of fragility and resilience. While it has flourished in the wild for millennia, habitat loss and pollution have caused drastic declines in its natural populations. Today, it is critically endangered in its native range, surviving primarily in isolated, fragmented habitats. Yet, at the same time, axolotls have become icons in laboratories and aquariums around the world. They are among the most widely studied amphibians in the scientific community, and their charm, those frilly gills and perpetual smile, makes them a favorite among researchers and enthusiasts alike. In a way, the axolotl embodies a kind of evolutionary paradox: an animal that thrives by staying juvenile, an amphibian that never leaves the water, and a species whose very uniqueness has made it both vulnerable in the wild and invaluable in science. It's a creature that reminds us that nature doesn't always follow a linear path. Sometimes, the best strategy is not to grow up, but to remain perfectly adapted to a single, enduring niche. Draco lizards, gliding with wing-like ribs, high in the rainforests of Southeast Asia, a flash of motion streaks through the canopy. What at first glance seems to be a bird or a large insect is, in fact, a small lizard soaring from tree to tree. This is the Draco lizard, sometimes called the flying dragon. While it doesn't truly fly, it can glide extraordinary distances thanks to wing-like structures that set it apart from nearly every other reptile on Earth. The secret to the Draco lizard's airborne agility lies in its ribs. Unlike most reptiles, Draco lizards have long, flexible ribs that extend outward from their bodies. These ribs support flaps of skin, often brightly colored, that act like a parachute. When the lizard leaps from a tree, it flares these skin flaps, creating a broad, flat surface that catches the air and allows it to glide effortlessly. In the right conditions, a Draco lizard can cover up to 30 feet in a single leap, navigating the dense forest canopy with remarkable precision. Gliding isn't just a flashy party trick, it's a critical survival strategy. Draco lizards are small, vulnerable creatures that rely on trees for safety, food, and shelter. By gliding, they can escape predators quickly, avoid ground-based dangers, and move between trees without descending to the forest floor, where they would be more exposed. This arboreal lifestyle, combined with the ability to fly between branches, allows them to exploit resources scattered throughout the canopy while staying one step ahead of danger. The evolution of Draco's gliding adaptations likely occurred gradually. Early ancestors may have had slightly elongated ribs and loose skin that helped them break their fall as they jumped from branch to branch. Over time, natural selection favored individuals that could glide farther and more accurately. The result is the Draco lizard's highly specialized anatomy, which allows it to navigate its aerial environment with grace and efficiency. Interestingly, Draco lizards are not the only creatures to develop gliding abilities. Across the animal kingdom, multiple lineages, from flying squirrels to gliding frogs, have evolved similar strategies to move through their habitats. This phenomenon, known as convergent evolution, highlights how different species can independently develop comparable traits when faced with similar environmental challenges. What sets Draco apart, however, is that it has taken a part of its skeleton, the ribs, and repurposed it into a functional gliding apparatus. It's a solution as elegant as it is surprising. In the dense, competitive world of the rainforest canopy, the Draco lizard's ability to glide represents a clever adaptation that not only ensures survival, but also exemplifies nature's knack for innovation. Watching one of these tiny dragons launch itself into the air and glide silently between the trees is a reminder of how life, through trial and error over countless generations, can achieve feats that seem almost magical. Kiwi birds laying eggs, nearly half their body size. In the misty forests of New Zealand, where the calls of nocturnal creatures echo through dense undergrowth, one of the world's most unique birds shuffles quietly along the forest floor. The kiwi is a curious creature, small, flightless, and more closely resembling a mammal in behavior than a typical bird. Its feathers are hair-like, its nostrils sit at the end of its long, slender beak, and it is mostly active at night, foraging for insects, worms, and berries beneath the cover of darkness. But perhaps its most astonishing feature is not its appearance, but the sheer size of the egg it lays. A female kiwi, which typically weighs only about 4 pounds, produces an egg that can be nearly half her body weight. For comparison, if a human woman were to carry an egg proportionally similar in size, it would weigh over 20 pounds. The kiwi's egg is the largest in relation to body size of any bird species, and producing it is an extraordinary feat of biology. The egg's enormous size isn't just a fluke, it serves a crucial purpose. Kiwi eggs contain an exceptionally high level of yolk, providing the developing chick with all the nutrients it needs to hatch fully, feathered, well-developed, and ready to fend for itself. Unlike many birds that lay small eggs and produce chicks that require extensive parental care, kiwis invest heavily in a single, massive egg. When the chick emerges after about 70 to 80 days of incubation, it is essentially self-sufficient, capable of feeding and surviving without immediate dependence on its parents. The process of producing such a large egg is not without its costs. Female kiwis endure significant physical strain as the egg develops. For a few days before laying, the egg occupies most of the female's body cavity, pressing against internal organs and making movement and feeding more difficult. Despite the challenge, this strategy has clearly worked for kiwis throughout their evolutionary history. By laying fewer, but better provisioned eggs, they have adapted to the resource-scarce environments of New Zealand's forests. This remarkable reproductive approach likely evolved in response to the absence of ground-based mammalian predators for much of New Zealand's history, with few threats to the eggs or the newly hatched chicks. Investing in a large, well-nourished offspring made more sense than laying numerous smaller eggs that might be vulnerable to predation. Over time, natural selection favored the production of larger eggs with more yolk, resulting in the massive eggs we see today. Kiwi eggs also highlight the bird's ancient lineage. Kiwis are part of a group called ratites, which includes ostriches, emus, and cassowaries. The unique reproductive strategy and the bird's anatomy suggest that it has retained certain traits from a time when New Zealand's ecosystem was vastly different, before the arrival of humans and introduced predators reshaped the island's natural balance. Today, the kiwi's oversized egg stands as a testament to its resilience and adaptability. Despite the pressures of habitat loss and introduced predators, this strange nocturnal bird continues to lay eggs of astonishing proportions, defying conventional rules of bird biology. In the kiwi's quiet, shadowy world, the seemingly impossible becomes routine, reminding us of nature's boundless capacity for innovation. Vampire finches feeding on the blood of other birds. In the Galapagos Islands, where unique species evolved in isolation over millions of years, a small bird hops along the rocky shores of Wolf and Darwin Islands. To a casual observer, it might appear no different from any other finch. Small, brownish, with a stout beak perfect for cracking seeds or snatching insects. But this finch, Geospiza septentrionalis, has a taste for something far more macabre, the blood of other living birds. Known as the vampire finch, this species has developed a peculiar dietary habit that sets it apart from its relatives. While most finches in the Galapagos stick to a diet of seeds, fruits, and the occasional insect, the vampire finch has learned to feed on the blood of larger seabirds, particularly Nazca and blue-footed boobies. It approaches its unwitting host with no apparent aggression, sometimes even mimicking grooming behavior. Once close enough, it pecks at the base of the host's feathers until it breaks the skin, causing small wounds from which it can lap up blood. This unusual feeding strategy likely evolved as a survival tactic. The vampire finches inhabit arid, rocky islands where food is scarce, particularly during dry seasons when seeds and insects are hard to find. In such conditions, they turn to an alternative resource, the blood of their avian neighbors. While the boobies seem to tolerate the occasional peck, perhaps seeing it as a minor irritation rather than a threat, this behavior allows the finches to extract valuable nutrients and moisture, helping them endure periods of scarcity. The origins of this behavior may lie in the finch's well-documented adaptability. Galapagos finches, famously studied by Charles Darwin, are known for their remarkable diversity of beak shapes and feeding strategies, which evolved in response to the different ecological niches available on the islands. The vampire finch's blood drinking may have begun with harmless feather picking, a common behavior among birds, and then escalated as some finches discovered that breaking the skin provided an additional source of sustenance. Over time, natural selection would have favored individuals that successfully accessed this unusual food source, cementing the behavior within the population. The vampire finch is not entirely reliant on blood. During the wetter months, when seeds and insects are more abundant, it reverts to a more conventional diet. But its ability to feed on blood gives it a crucial advantage in the challenging environment it calls home. It also highlights the incredible flexibility and creativity of evolution. Faced with limited resources, these birds developed a feeding strategy that seems more fitting for a bat than a songbird. Today, the vampire finch stands as a striking example of how animals can adapt to extreme conditions. Its unsettling diet may seem gruesome, but it's a testament to the lengths species will go to survive in a harsh and competitive world. In the remote Galapagos archipelago, nature's ingenuity knows no bounds, and even the most unlikely of diets can lead to a thriving population. Cone snails firing venomous harpoons. Beneath the sparkling waves of tropical reefs, a seemingly unremarkable snail glides across the seafloor. Its smooth, conical shell often sports intricate patterns, masking the fact that this small mollusk is among the most fearsome hunters in the ocean. This is the cone snail, a creature equipped with a venomous harpoon that can paralyze prey in mere seconds. Cone snails, of which there are hundreds of species, range in size from under an inch to over 6 inches long. They move slowly, like most snails, but their sluggish pace belies their deadly efficiency. Instead of chasing their prey, they rely on stealth and precision. Once a fish, worm, or other unfortunate animal wanders too close, the cone snail extends a long, flexible proboscis. Hidden within it is a specialized tooth, called a radula, shaped like a tiny, barbed spear. In an instant, the snail fires this harpoon into its target, delivering a potent cocktail of venom that can immobilize its prey almost immediately. What makes this venom so powerful is its complexity. Cone snail venom is a sophisticated blend of neurotoxins, sometimes containing hundreds of different compounds. These toxins target the victim's nervous system, disrupting signals between nerves and muscles. The result is paralysis, ensuring that the prey can't escape. With its target incapacitated, the cone snail pulls it in, slowly engulfing it with its mouth before retreating to digest its meal. Cone snails have evolved their venom not just for effectiveness, but also for specialization. Different species hunt different types of prey. Some prefer small fish, others worms or crustaceans. Over time, each snail's venom has adapted to target its preferred quarry with surgical precision. This incredible diversity of toxins makes cone snail venom a goldmine for scientific research. In fact, some of its compounds have been studied for potential medical uses, including pain relief and treatments for neurological disorders. But how does the cone snail avoid harming itself with its own venom? The answer lies in its anatomy. The venom glands are sealed off, and the harpoon's sharp tip only becomes active when fired. This design ensures that the snail can handle its own deadly arsenal safely without risking self-injury. Despite their fearsome reputation, cone snails are not aggressive toward humans. Most species are relatively harmless unless provoked. However, a few of the larger fish-hunting species can deliver venom potent enough to cause serious harm or even death. Divers and beachcombers are often warned not to handle these snails, no matter how beautiful their shells may appear. In the world of cone snails, evolution has taken a slow-moving creature and turned it into a highly specialized predator. Armed with a venomous harpoon and an arsenal of toxins, these marine mollusks are a reminder that danger in nature isn't always loud or fast. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, and beautifully disguised. Giant Palouse earthworms, reportedly smelling like lilies. Beneath the rolling, wind-swept hills of the Palouse Prairie in the Pacific Northwest, a creature of near-mythical status burrows deep into the soil. The giant Palouse earthworm, once thought to be extinct, has captured the imagination of scientists, conservationists, and locals alike. Stretching up to 3 feet long and as wide as fresh cream, it's a worm of almost otherworldly proportions. But what sets it apart is not just its size, it's also said to emit a gentle, floral aroma, a scent reminiscent of lilies. First described in the 1890s, the giant Palouse earthworm quickly gained a reputation as a subterranean oddity. Unlike its smaller, more common cousins, this worm preferred the deep, loamy soils of the Palouse region, a unique ecosystem of lush grasslands and fertile farmland. Historical accounts claim the worm could burrow to depths of 15 feet, emerging only after heavy rains. Early reports described it as pleasant smelling and capable of retreating into its burrow at astonishing speed when disturbed. For decades, the worm seemed more legend than reality. As agriculture transformed the Palouse prairie into a patchwork of wheat fields, sightings became rare. By the late 20th century, many feared the giant Palouse earthworm was gone for good. Yet, in the early 2000s, biologists began uncovering tantalizing evidence. A few specimens and burrows that suggested the worm might still be clinging to survival in pockets of undisturbed habitat. Each new find, however scarce, rekindled hope that this enigmatic invertebrate had not disappeared entirely. One of the most intriguing aspects of the giant Palouse earthworm is the persistent claim that it smells like lilies. Some researchers speculate that its scent could serve as a form of chemical defense, perhaps deterring predators or competitors. Others suggest that the aroma might simply be a byproduct of its diet or metabolism. Whatever the cause, this unusual trait sets the worm apart, making it one of the few earthworms known for a distinctive fragrance. The story of the giant Palouse earthworm also highlights the challenges of studying elusive species. Much of the Palouse prairie's original habitat has been converted to farmland, leaving only fragments of the once vast grasslands where the worm could thrive. Even with modern methods, locating these deeply burrowing creatures is no easy task. Their tendency to dwell far below the surface, coupled with their rarity, has made them one of North America's most mysterious invertebrates. Efforts to conserve the remaining Palouse prairie habitat have gained momentum in recent years, driven in part by the hope of preserving the giant Palouse earthworm. Protecting this species isn't just about saving a single, unusual worm. It's also about safeguarding an entire ecosystem that has been drastically reduced. The worm serves as a symbol of the region's natural heritage, reminding us of the hidden biodiversity that can exist beneath our feet. In the end, whether or not the giant Palouse earthworm truly smells like lilies may remain a tantalizing detail of its legend. But what's clear is that this remarkable worm, with its immense size, deep burrowing habits, and near mythical reputation, continues to captivate those who seek to understand the natural world's most unusual inhabitants. Hagfish, that slime, they're predators. In the dark, frigid depths of the ocean, where few creatures dare to dwell, the hagfish swims calmly through an environment of perpetual night. These ancient, jawless fish are the ultimate survivors, outlasting even the dinosaurs by hundreds of millions of years. They may not look impressive, resembling little more than slimy, eel-like tubes, but the hagfish possesses a unique and highly effective defense mechanism. It can produce vast quantities of slime in seconds, transforming an attack into a sticky, suffocating mess. When a predator, a shark, a larger fish, or even a scavenging crab, attempts to grab a hagfish, it quickly regrets the decision. In an instant, the hagfish exudes a viscous, fibrous slime from dozens of specialized glands along its body. When this slime comes into contact with seawater, it expands rapidly, forming a gooey, elastic substance that clogs the predator's gills, mouth, or claws. Many attackers retreat in panic, desperate to rid themselves of the gelatinous mass. Some may even asphyxiate if they cannot clear their gills in time. The hagfish, meanwhile, simply slithers away, unharmed and seemingly unfazed. What makes the hagfish's slime so effective is its unique structure. The substance is not merely mucus, it contains ultrafine protein threads that unravel when released. These threads can stretch many times their original length, creating a strong, web-like network that traps water and forms a nearly impenetrable barrier. The result is not only slippery and difficult to remove, but also strong enough to jam up the gills of even the most determined predator. But the slime isn't just a defense mechanism. Hagfish use it in their scavenging habits as well. These creatures often feed on dead or dying fish, burrowing into carcasses to consume flesh from the inside out. When competing scavengers arrive, a quick burst of slime can send them fleeing, leaving the hagfish to feast undisturbed. It's a remarkably versatile tool, one that has kept the hagfish thriving for more than 300 million years. Despite its seemingly simple lifestyle, the hagfish is a creature of impressive resilience. It can survive long periods without food, endure low oxygen environments, and fend off predators with a defense so strange and effective that it has inspired scientific research. Engineers and material scientists are studying hagfish slime to develop new, lightweight materials. Its unique properties, strong, flexible, and biodegradable, may one day lead to innovations in everything from protective gear to medical devices. Hagfish might not win any beauty contests, but their evolutionary success lies in their adaptability and unique approach to survival. In their unassuming, slimy way, they remind us that the ocean's depths are home to some of the most fascinating and unexpected life forms on Earth. Wood frogs, freezing solid to survive, winter in the icy forests and wetlands of North America, where winters plunge temperatures far below freezing. One small, brown amphibian has developed an extraordinary survival strategy. The wood frog, a seemingly ordinary creature no larger than the palm of your hand, can do what few other vertebrates can. It freezes solid, enduring the bitter cold in a state of suspended animation. As the autumn days grow shorter and the air turns crisp, the wood frog's body begins to prepare. It accumulates glucose, essentially a natural antifreeze, inside its cells. This glucose prevents the cells from collapsing under the stress of freezing temperatures, protecting vital organs from damage. As winter sets in, the frog burrows into the leaf litter or soil, and when the first hard frost arrives, its body temperature drops to match its surroundings. Once the wood frog is fully frozen, its heart stops beating, its blood ceases to flow, and its muscles become stiff as ice. For all appearances, it seems dead, and yet its cells remain intact, shielded by the sugar-rich fluid that keeps them from dehydrating or bursting. In this suspended state, the frog can remain frozen for weeks, even months, surviving through the coldest part of the year. When spring arrives, the wood frog's miraculous revival begins. As the air warms, its body thaws from the inside out. The heart starts beating again, blood flows, and its muscles regain flexibility. In just a matter of hours, the frog is once more hopping, croaking, and ready to breed in the ephemeral pools of melting snow. It's a cycle that has allowed wood frogs to colonize some of the northernmost regions inhabited by amphibians, thriving where other species would perish. The wood frog's ability to freeze and thaw is a triumph of evolution. Scientists believe this adaptation arose gradually, with early ancestors able to tolerate brief exposure to frost. Over countless generations, these frogs refined their defenses, turning a vulnerability into a remarkable advantage. Today, they serve as a model organism for researchers studying cryopreservation, organ storage, and the mechanics of freeze tolerance in animals. Unlocking the secrets of the wood frog's natural antifreeze might one day lead to breakthroughs in medicine, from better preserving donor organs to improving cryotherapy techniques. The wood frog's seasonal freeze is a reminder that even the harshest conditions can be met with elegant solutions. Nature doesn't simply endure the cold, it embraces it, finding ways to thrive where life's limits seem most absolute. In their frozen state, wood frogs challenge our assumptions about what it means to be alive, proving that survival can take forms as astonishing as the changing seasons themselves. Hoatzin chicks, with reptile-like, clawed wings, deep within the Amazon rainforest, amid tangled vines and the murmur of flowing water, an unusual bird makes its home. Perched in the trees along riverbanks and wetlands, the Hoatzin, sometimes called the stink bird for its pungent odor, hardly looks out of place in the lush, teeming jungle. But its chicks hold a secret that harkens back millions of years, revealing a link to the distant past. Unlike most modern birds, young Hoatzins are born with a feature long thought to be extinct: claws on their wings. These claws, located on the first and second digits, appear shortly after hatching and remain visible until the chicks grow their flight feathers. During this brief window of development, the claws serve a vital purpose. In the early days of life, Hoatzin chicks are highly vulnerable. Their nests, often built precariously over water, are easy targets for predators. But when danger approaches, be it a climbing snake, a prowling feline, or even a rival bird, the young Hoatzins can leap into the water below. Once there, they use their claws to climb back up into the safety of the vegetation, gripping branches and scrambling their way back to the nest. This ability to climb, combined with their strong legs, provides them with an escape mechanism few other birds can match. The Hoatzin's claws aren't fully developed wings or functional hands. They don't allow the bird to fly or grasp objects as a mammal might. Instead, these clawed digits are a survival tool for the most perilous stage of life. As the chicks mature, the claws gradually diminish in size and function, becoming nearly invisible by the time they fledge. Adult Hoatzins rely instead on their wings and tails for balance and navigation, while the young's temporary claws are left behind as a curious footnote in their development. This ancient trait sparks intriguing questions about the evolutionary history of birds. Birds are descended from theropod dinosaurs, some of which famously possess clawed forelimbs. While most modern birds have lost these primitive structures, the Hoatzin retains a glimpse of this ancestral anatomy. The presence of wing claws in Hoatzin chicks reminds us that evolution is not always a clean slate. Sometimes, vestiges of the past linger, re-emerging in surprising ways. Beyond its claws, the Hoatzin is a bird of many quirks. It has a unique digestive system, relying on bacterial fermentation in its crop to break down the tough leaves it eats. This process, similar to that of ruminants like cows, is what gives the bird its strong odor. Despite its less than pleasant aroma, the Hoatzin plays a crucial role in its ecosystem, dispersing seeds and maintaining the balance of its forest habitat. The Hoatzin chick's clawed wings, fleeting as they may be, provide a living connection to a prehistoric lineage. In the dense Amazonian wilderness, these young birds remind us of the deep, winding paths evolution has taken. Their claws, though temporary, hint at a time when the ancestors of modern birds were creatures of both flight and grasp, bridging the worlds of land, water, and sky. Nudibranchs stealing, stinging cells from prey. In the kaleidoscopic world of coral reefs, where creatures display an endless array of shapes and colors, nudibranchs, often called sea slugs, stand out as living works of art. Their vivid patterns and dazzling hues make them appear almost ornamental, yet these small marine mollusks are anything but passive decorations. Nudibranchs are clever, highly specialized predators, and some of them have evolved a remarkable defense strategy, stealing the stinging cells of their prey and turning those weapons into their own. Nudibranchs are soft-bodied and slow-moving, easy targets for many predators. But certain species have found a way to defend themselves by co-opting the potent weaponry of the cnidarians they consume. Creatures like anemones and hydroids that possess specialized cells called conidocytes. These stinging cells, which normally serve to protect the cnidarian from would-be attackers, become part of the nudibranch's arsenal. After consuming a key cnidarian, the nudibranch carefully transports the stinging cells, known as nematocysts, through its digestive system. Instead of destroying them, it stores these cells in specialized structures on its back, called cerata. Once embedded in the cerata, the nematocysts remain functional. If a predator tries to take a bite out of the nudibranch, the stinging cells discharge, delivering a painful or even lethal dose of venom. In effect, the nudibranch transforms into a mobile minefield, protected by the very weapons it harvested from its prey. This ability to hijack nematocysts is not as simple as it might sound. The nudibranch must carefully handle the stinging cells as they pass through its gut, ensuring they don't trigger prematurely. Once the cells are safely stored in the cerata, they remain ready to fire at the slightest touch. It's a finely tuned process that likely evolved over millions of years, providing nudibranches with a defense that far outweighs their size and apparent fragility. The strategy also points to the astonishing creativity of evolution. Instead of developing their own stinging mechanisms, these nudibranches took advantage of an existing resource, co-opting the defensive traits of their prey. This form of kleptoplasty, stealing useful cellular components, allows them to thrive in competitive, predator-rich environments. It's not only efficient, but also a striking example of how some organisms can repurpose their enemies' most fearsome adaptations. Even more remarkable is the diversity of nudibranchs that employ this strategy. Different species target different cnidarians, resulting in a variety of stinging defenses, tailored to their specific habitats and threats. Some nudibranchs don't stop at nematocysts. They also harvest pigments and even photosynthetic algae from their prey, using them for camouflage or as a source of energy. In their brightly colored bodies and ingenious use of stolen weaponry, nudibranches illustrate the endless inventiveness of the natural world. They remind us that survival isn't always about brute strength or speed. Sometimes it's about taking what your enemy has and making it your own. In doing so, nudibranchs have transformed from vulnerable, delicate creatures into some of the reef's most resilient and resourceful inhabitants. Bowerbirds, creating elaborate art to attract mates. In the dense rainforests and open woodlands of Australia and New Guinea, a peculiar spectacle unfolds on the forest floor. A male bowerbird, plain and nondescript in appearance, spends weeks carefully arranging twigs, leaves, and flowers into a structured display, a bower. This intricate structure is not a nest, but a stage, a place to woo a potential mate. What makes this courtship ritual so extraordinary is not just the meticulous construction of the bower itself, but the artistic flair that goes into decorating it. Male bowerbirds are the architects and decorators of the avian world. Each species builds its bower in a unique style. Some arrange a simple corridor of twigs. Others construct elaborate archways or domed pavilions. Once the structure is complete, the real artistry begins. The male selects and arranges objects to adorn the bower, choosing from an astonishing variety of materials. Brightly colored flowers, berries, leaves, feathers, shiny beetle shells, and even human-made items like plastic bottle caps or bits of glass. Blue is a particularly popular color, and some male bowerbirds will go to great lengths to gather rare blue objects, positioning them carefully to create the most visually striking effect. This decorating process is no random act. The male is meticulous, rearranging items to achieve just the right balance of color and texture. He clears debris from around the bower, ensuring that nothing distracts from his display. Some species even use natural pigments, crushing berries to paint the walls of their structures, or carefully arranging objects by size to create an optical illusion that makes the bower appear more imposing to the female. It is, quite literally, a form of avian artistry. But why all this effort? The bower is not a home for the pair or their offspring. Instead, it is a visual and architectural courtship display, a demonstration of the male's skills, fitness, and resourcefulness. Female bowerbirds visit multiple bowers, inspecting each one with a critical eye. A well-built, beautifully decorated bower signals a male's genetic quality and his ability to thrive in his environment. In this way, the bower serves as a kind of resume, showcasing his ability to find resources, plan ahead, and invest energy in a long-term project. If the female is impressed, she will mate with him. If not, she moves on. The competition among males is fierce, and the stakes are high. Some males go so far as to sabotage their rivals, stealing prized decorations from a neighbor's bower, or rearranging items to diminish its appeal. Others may try to intimidate intruding males with aggressive displays or loud calls. For the bowerbird, courtship is not just about attracting a mate, it's a battle of creativity and persistence. The behavior of bowerbirds offers fascinating insights into the evolution of sexual selection. In many species, physical traits like bright plumage or elaborate tails serve as indicators of fitness. Bowerbirds, however, have taken this to another level by building external structures that reflect their cognitive and creative abilities. By doing so, they have turned their courtship displays into a complex performance, one that requires planning, problem-solving, and a keen aesthetic sense. In the end, the bowerbird's elaborate art is a testament to nature's creativity and the lengths to which life will go in the pursuit of reproduction. It's a reminder that beauty and ingenuity are not uniquely human traits. In their forest galleries, bowerbirds demonstrate that the drive to create, to impress, and to leave a lasting impression is a universal force, one that transcends species and inspires wonder. The Suriname toad embedding offspring in its back in the slow-moving streams and murky pools of South America, a creature lurks whose appearance and reproductive strategy are both startlingly unique. The Suriname toad, flat and leaf-like in shape, often goes unnoticed as it camouflages itself among decaying plant matter. But while its inconspicuous form may not draw much attention at first glance, the way it raises its young is nothing short of astonishing. Unlike many other frogs and toads that lay their eggs in water, the female Suriname toad carries her eggs embedded in her back. During the mating ritual, the male clasps the female in an embrace called amplexus. As the female releases her eggs, the male fertilizes them and then carefully presses each one into the soft skin on her back. Over time, her skin swells around the eggs, creating a honeycomb-like array of pockets. These egg-filled pouches become miniature incubators, safely housing the developing embryos. The process doesn't end there. While many amphibians young go through a free-swimming tadpole stage, the Suriname toad's offspring bypass this entirely. Inside their protective pockets, the eggs hatch, and the larvae develop directly into fully formed, miniature toads. When they're ready, These tiny replicas of their parents emerge from the mother's back, bursting out of the skin pockets and hopping into the water to begin their independent lives. This bizarre form of parental care is a remarkable adaptation to the Suriname toad's environment. By carrying the eggs in her back, the female protects them from predators, parasitic fungi, and other threats that would normally endanger eggs left in open water. The enclosed pockets provide a stable, safe environment where the embryos can grow and develop without the dangers of drifting currents or hungry fish. The Suriname toad's unusual reproductive method also underscores the extraordinary diversity of life's solutions to the challenge of raising young. While most amphibians rely on external conditions, like ponds, streams, or temporary rain pools, to nurture their eggs, the Suriname toad has taken that responsibility entirely upon itself. This direct development approach, in which the young emerge fully formed, reduces the risks associated with metamorphosis and enhances the survival rate of its offspring. It's hard to observe this process without a sense of wonder and perhaps a touch of discomfort. For many, the sight of tiny toads wriggling out of the mother's back seems almost alien. But this reproductive strategy, as strange as it may appear, is a testament to the adaptability and resourcefulness of life in the tropics. In the dense, predator-rich waters of South America, the Suriname toad has evolved a method that ensures the next generation gets the best possible start, even if it means carrying them in the most unconventional of nurseries. Dumbo octopuses, floating like deep-sea umbrellas, far below the ocean's surface, in a realm of perpetual darkness, where pressures are immense and temperatures hover near freezing, a delicate, ghostly figure drifts serenely. Known as the Dumbo octopus, named for its ear-like fins that resemble the famous elephant's flapping ears, this deep-sea cephalopod is unlike any other. Floating gracefully above the abyssal plains, it moves through the water with a quiet elegance, appearing more like a drifting umbrella than a predator of the deep. Dumbo octopuses are members of the genus Grimpeteuthis, a group that inhabits some of the most extreme depths of the ocean. While many octopuses dart about using jet propulsion, these gentle creatures rely primarily on their fins. By flapping their ear-like appendages, they glide effortlessly through the water, conserving energy in an environment where food can be scarce. Their arms, often adorned with delicate webbing, spread out like a parachute, helping them steer and maintain stability. Unlike the vibrant, color-shifting octopuses found in coral reefs, Dumbo octopuses live in near-total darkness, where camouflage and rapid escape tactics are less critical. Instead, they have evolved to be slow, deliberate, and supremely efficient. They spend much of their time hovering just above the seafloor, scanning for small prey. Their diet consists mainly of crustaceans, worms, and other soft-bodied animals that are plucked from the sediment or captured as they drift by. Dumbo octopuses have adapted to an environment where few others can survive. They are found at depths of 13,000 feet or more, where the water pressure is immense and the conditions are inhospitable to most life forms. Here, every movement counts, and conserving energy is essential. The Dumbo octopus's serene, drifting motion allows it to hunt, feed, and move about without expending more effort than necessary. Their reproductive strategy is also uniquely suited to the deep sea. Rather than reproducing seasonally, Dumbo octopuses carry multiple eggs at different stages of development. This means they can lay eggs continuously, rather than all at once, ensuring that at least some offspring survive in their unpredictable environment. The female carefully deposits each egg onto a hard surface, often the side of a rock or a piece of debris, where it can develop in relative safety. Despite their alien appearance, Dumbo octopuses are delicate, vulnerable creatures. Their soft bodies make them easy targets for the few predators that share their habitat. Yet their combination of graceful movement, efficient energy use, and steady reproduction has allowed them to persist in some of the most challenging conditions on Earth. Dumbo octopuses are a testament to nature's adaptability. In the crushing depths, where survival requires resilience and resourcefulness, they float gracefully through the darkness, embodying an elegance that stands in stark contrast to the harsh environment they call home. In their quiet, unhurried way, these deep-sea umbrellas remind us that beauty and survival often go hand in hand, even in the most unlikely places. Fossa of Madagascar, part mongoose, part cat predator. In the misty forests of Madagascar, an elusive predator roams the shadows of the canopy and forest floor. It's not quite a cat, nor is it a typical mongoose, though it shares traits with both. This is the fossa, Cryptoproctopherox, Madagascar's top predator, and a creature as enigmatic as the island's unique wildlife. At first glance, the fossa's long, sleek body and retractable claws give it a feline appearance. Its pointed snout and muscular build hint at a mongoose-like lineage. In fact, the fossa is the largest carnivorous mammal on Madagascar and a member of the Eupleridae family, a group of carnivores found only on this island. It occupies a niche that, in other parts of the world, might be filled by small to medium-sized wild cats. Despite its cat-like agility, the fossa is a specialist uniquely adapted to its forested habitat, equipped with a long tail that provides balance and sharp claws for climbing. It navigates the treetops with ease, pursuing prey through the tangled branches. Its flexible ankles allow it to grip tree trunks and leap from limb to limb, making it one of the few predators on the island that can hunt both on the ground and in the canopy. The fossa's diet is as diverse as its skill set. Though it can take down small lemurs, the island's primate inhabitants, it's not above hunting birds, reptiles, and even insects. Whatever it can catch in the dense forest, the fossa will eat. As an apex predator, it plays a vital role in maintaining the balance of Madagascar's fragile ecosystem, keeping prey populations in check and influencing the structure of the food web. Its secretive nature and remote habitat have made the fossa a mystery to science for many years. Rarely seen in the wild, it was once believed to be a type of cat or civet before more detailed studies revealed its unique lineage. Today, researchers are still piecing together its behaviors, territories, and breeding habits. What is clear, however, is that the fossa faces significant threats. Habitat destruction and hunting have placed it in jeopardy, and its survival is now closely tied to the preservation of Madagascar's shrinking forests. The fossa is more than just an unusual predator. It's a living symbol of Madagascar's evolutionary isolation. On an island that has been separated from the mainland for tens of millions of years, the fossa emerged as a solitary, adaptable carnivore, taking on a role that elsewhere might have been filled by foxes, small wildcats, or civets. Its existence is a reminder of the island's unique biodiversity and the urgent need to protect these habitats before such remarkable creatures fade into history. As the fossa slips silently through the undergrowth or lounges high in a tree, it remains one of Madagascar's most mysterious inhabitants. Neither wholly mongoose nor fully cat, it embodies the singular creativity of evolution, carving out a place all its own in the forests of this extraordinary island. Shoebill storks, with dinosaur-like hunting tactics. In the swampy wetlands of Central Africa, a peculiar bird lurks among the tall grasses and papyrus reeds. The shoebill stork, named for its enormous shoe-shaped beak, stands motionless for hours, its steely grey feathers blending into the murky surroundings. With a piercing stare that evokes an almost prehistoric intensity, the shoebill waits patiently for its next meal. When the time comes, its hunting strategy is as ruthless as any predator's from the age of dinosaurs. The shoebill's oversized bill isn't just for show. This powerful tool is perfectly adapted for snatching up large, slippery prey, including lungfish, tilapia, eels, and even baby crocodiles. The bird uses a combination of stealth, patience, and brute force to catch its meals. Standing completely still, it allows fish and other prey to come within striking distance. Then, in a flash, it strikes downward, clamping its massive beak around the victim. The shoebill's sharp, curved hook at the end of its bill ensures that once it has grabbed hold of its prey, there's no escape. One of the shoebill's most dinosaur-like traits is its methodical approach to hunting. Unlike many other birds that actively chase or dive after prey, the shoebill relies on slow, deliberate movements and long bouts of stillness. This patient ambush strategy, combined with its imposing size, standing over 4 feet tall with a wingspan that can reach 8 feet, makes it a dominant predator in its wetland habitat. Its piercing gaze and deliberate motions give it a reptilian aura, reminiscent of the ancient theropod dinosaurs that once ruled the planet. Despite its fierce hunting tactics, the shoebill is a surprisingly solitary and shy bird. It prefers the quiet, undisturbed swamps of tropical Africa, where it can hunt without competition. It also has a unique, low-pitched vocalization, often described as a machine gun-like clatter, that adds to its otherworldly presence. Unfortunately, this iconic bird is vulnerable to habitat destruction and human disturbance. Wetlands across its range are being drained for agriculture and settlements, threatening the delicate ecosystems where the shoebill thrives. Conservation efforts are underway to protect its breeding grounds and maintain the health of the swamps it calls home, ensuring that this ancient-looking predator continues to haunt the wetlands for generations to come. The shoebill stork's hunting tactics, imposing stature, and primitive appearance make it a living echo of the prehistoric world. In its slow, deliberate movements and powerful strikes, it offers a glimpse into the past, reminding us that the legacy of the dinosaurs is still very much alive in the creatures that share our world today. Mole salamanders, reproducing with multiple paternal DNA lines. Deep in the ponds and vernal pools of North America, a peculiar reproductive strategy unfolds each spring. Mole salamanders, a group of large burrowing amphibians, emerge from their subterranean hideouts to breed in the water. While many species have straightforward reproductive methods, one male and one female contributing DNA to produce offspring, certain mole salamanders break all the rules, employing a rare and fascinating form of reproduction called kleptogenesis. In kleptogenesis, female mole salamanders can incorporate genetic material from multiple male donors, even those from different species. A single clutch of eggs might contain offspring that are part maternal, part paternal, and part borrowed from other males entirely. These females can take sperm from multiple species and selectively use or discard certain genetic material. Some of the resulting young may have 3 or more sets of chromosomes, making them triploid or even tetraploid, while others retain a simpler genetic makeup. What's remarkable is that this process isn't random. The females appear to choose which genetic material to keep, mixing and matching DNA from various males to create offspring that are best suited for their environment. This ability to combine genes from multiple sources can help the salamanders adapt quickly to changing conditions, increasing genetic diversity in their populations without relying solely on traditional sexual reproduction. The origins of this reproductive strategy likely lie in the complex and ancient history of mole salamanders. Over millions of years, their evolutionary lineage encountered periods of environmental instability, shifting climates, and habitat fragmentation. In such conditions, a flexible approach to reproduction could offer significant advantages. By blending genes from different species or lineages, mole salamanders may have been able to rapidly adapt to new challenges, maintaining viable populations even in the face of ecological upheaval. Today, this unique reproductive method raises intriguing questions for scientists. How do females decide which genes to incorporate? What mechanisms guide the selection and rejection of sperm from different males? And what does this tell us about the evolutionary pressures that shape reproduction in amphibians? Studying mole salamanders not only deepens our understanding of amphibian biology, but also provides a glimpse into how life's complexity can drive the development of extraordinary strategies for survival. The mole salamander's unorthodox approach to reproduction is a reminder that nature often defies simple categorizations. In their quiet, hidden world, these amphibians demonstrate that the boundaries of biology are not fixed, but fluid, adapting to meet the ever-changing demands of life. Pistol shrimp, stunning prey with cavitation bubbles. In the tropical waters of coral reefs and mangrove forests, an unassuming little shrimp, often no longer than a few inches, hides within the nooks and crannies of its underwater world. Despite its small size, the pistol shrimp, or snapping shrimp, possesses one of the most powerful biological weapons in the ocean. With a simple snap of its specialized claw, it can stun, kill, or deter prey and predators alike, not with brute force, but with the raw energy of physics. The pistol shrimp's oversized claw is not just for show. Unlike a typical claw that pinches or crushes, this one has evolved into a highly specialized snapping device. The shrimp opens and closes the claw so rapidly that it generates a jet of water moving at incredible speeds. This movement creates a cavitation bubble, a tiny, rapidly collapsing void in the water. When the bubble collapses, it releases an intense burst of energy, a shock wave strong enough to stun nearby fish or break apart the shells of smaller prey. What makes this phenomenon even more remarkable is the sheer scale of the energy produced. The temperature inside the collapsing bubble can briefly reach thousands of degrees, and the snap can generate a sound so loud that in controlled environments it rivals the noise level of a jet engine. In the shrimp's natural habitat, this snapping is often heard as a background crackling in coral reef environments. The pistol shrimp's claw is not only a hunting tool, but also a means of defense, allowing it to fend off larger predators by startling them or even damaging them with the shockwave. How did such a remarkable mechanism evolve? Over millions of years, natural selection favored shrimp that could use their claws more effectively. Initially, these snaps may have simply startled predators or confused prey, giving the shrimp a slight advantage. Over time, the claws became more specialized, capable of generating increasingly powerful cavitation bubbles. The result is a biological adaptation that combines mechanical precision with the raw energy of fluid dynamics, an evolutionary masterpiece hidden within a humble crustacean. Pistol shrimp are not solitary operators. Some species form symbiotic relationships with gobies, small fish that share the shrimp's burrow. While the shrimp uses its claw for hunting and defense, the goby acts as a lookout, signaling when danger approaches. This partnership ensures that both species can thrive in the competitive reef environment, further showcasing the pistol shrimp's importance in its ecosystem. In the world of coral reefs, where predators and prey constantly adapt to outsmart one another. The pistol shrimp's explosive snap stands out as one of nature's most surprising and effective weapons. By harnessing the power of cavitation bubbles, this tiny shrimp reminds us that size isn't always a measure of strength. Sometimes it's about how you use the tools evolution has given you. Hammerhead sharks and their oddly shaped heads for enhanced sonar. Cruising through the warm coastal waters and open seas, hammerhead sharks are instantly recognizable by the unique, wide shape of their heads. Called cephalofoils, these hammer-like structures give the sharks a profile unlike any other marine predator. Far from being a simple quirk of evolution, the hammerhead's unusual head shape provides an array of advantages, from improved sensory detection to better maneuverability, making it one of the ocean's most finely tuned hunters. One of the hammerhead's most notable adaptations lies in its enhanced ability to detect prey. Scattered across the underside of its wide head are specialized organs called ampullae of Lorenzini. These jelly-filled sensory structures detect faint electrical signals given off by all living creatures. The broad surface area of the hammerhead's cephalofoil allows for a wider distribution of these sensors, significantly increasing the shark's ability to locate hidden prey. In shallow waters, a hammerhead can sweep its head side to side like a metal detector, picking up the electric fields of stingrays buried under the sand, as well as fish, squid, and other creatures concealed from sight. The hammer-like head also contributes to better vision. With eyes positioned far apart on the sides of the cephalofoil, hammerhead sharks have a wider field of view than most other sharks. While there is a small blind spot directly in front of their head, their broad field of vision allows them to track movements above, below, and around them, giving them an edge in hunting and avoiding potential threats. This panoramic perspective helps hammerheads patrol coral reefs, coastal shallows, and open ocean with remarkable efficiency. Beyond sensing prey, the hammerhead's head shape also enhances its agility. The cephalofoil acts like a hydrodynamic wing, giving the shark more control over its movements. By tilting and angling its head, the hammerhead can make sharper turns, maintain stability while swimming, and glide effortlessly through complex underwater environments. This agility allows the shark to ambush prey, evade larger predators, and navigate the intricate terrain of coral reefs and rocky seafloors with ease. Hammerhead sharks come in several species, ranging from the small bonnet-head shark to the great hammerhead, which can reach over 20 feet in length. While all hammerheads share the characteristic cephalofoil, each species' head shape varies slightly, tailored to their specific habitats and hunting techniques. This diversity highlights how evolution has fine-tuned the hammerhead's unique anatomy to match the challenges of its environment. Despite their impressive adaptations, many hammerhead species face threats from overfishing, habitat loss, and shark finning. Conservation efforts are critical to protecting these sharks and maintaining the health of marine ecosystems. As apex predators, hammerheads help regulate prey populations, ensuring the balance of the ocean's food web. Hammerhead sharks exemplify evolution's ability to refine and enhance natural traits in response to environmental pressures. Their oddly shaped heads, far from being a curious deformity, are a masterful design that combines sensory superiority, visual range, and agility. As they glide through the world's oceans, hammerheads remind us that nature's most unconventional forms often hide the most ingenious solutions. Birds of paradise with outlandish dance rituals. In the dense jungles of Papua New Guinea and surrounding islands, where light filters through a maze of leaves and vines, a symphony of color and sound emerges. Birds of paradise, famed for their extravagant plumage, transform these forests into stages for some of the most extraordinary courtship displays on Earth. While many birds rely on bright feathers or a melodic call to attract mates, these avian performers take the art of seduction to an entirely new level, combining dazzling visuals with complex, choreographed dance rituals. Each species of bird of paradise has its own signature performance. The males, decked out in shimmering greens, fiery reds, deep purples, or jet blacks, use their ornate feathers to create surreal visual spectacles. Some unfurl iridescent fan-shaped tails, others raise collar-like crests, and a few transform their entire bodies into what appears to be a floating black oval adorned with neon highlights. But their feathers are only the beginning. The dances themselves are a marvel of precision. Males often clear a stage, carefully removing leaves, sticks, or anything that might detract from their performance. Once the stage is set, they launch into an intricate sequence of hops, spins, bows, and poses. Some dangle upside down from branches, swaying rhythmically. Others bounce from perch to perch, punctuating each movement with a flourish of feathers. Their calls and clicks add another layer to the performance, acting as cues or embellishments to their choreography. What drives these flamboyant displays? Sexual selection is the primary force. Female birds of paradise are typically more subdued in appearance, blending into the forest as they raise their young. Their cautious, selective approach to choosing a mate has led males to evolve ever more elaborate displays. Over generations, only the most eye-catching, precise, and confident dancers have succeeded in passing on their genes, resulting in the breathtaking rituals we see today. These performances are not just about beauty, they're a testament to evolutionary creativity. In the safety of their isolated habitat, far removed from many mainland predators, birds of paradise have been able to channel evolutionary energy into aesthetics rather than survival. Their dances and plumage serve as a canvas upon which nature's ingenuity is painted in vivid, mesmerizing strokes. The result is a living spectacle that defies imagination. In these remote forests, evolution's artistry shines brightest, as birds of paradise transform simple courtship into a stunning form of performance art. Their dances aren't just about attracting a mate. They're a celebration of life's ability to evolve in the most dazzling and unexpected directions. Zombie plants, hijacked by parasitic dodder vines. In the quiet rhythm of a meadow or forest edge, a peculiar transformation can unfold. A thriving green plant, content, rooted, photosynthesizing, may suddenly find itself entwined by a parasitic invader. The culprit is a dodder vine, a pale, yellowish tangle that wraps tightly around its host, stealing nutrients and sapping the host's vitality. Over time, the host plant may seem less like a flourishing organism and more like a ghost of its former self, manipulated and weakened by its unwelcome visitor. Dodder vines are masters of hijacking. Instead of growing their own leaves or roots to gather sunlight and nutrients, they target other plants, using specialized structures called haustoria. These haustoria penetrate the host plant's tissue, tapping directly into its vascular system. Through these siphoning organs, the dodder extracts water, sugars, and other vital substances. In essence, the host becomes little more than a living resource depot, its growth and energy redirected to fuel the dodder's sprawling coils. The parasitic vine doesn't just steal sustenance, it can also manipulate its host on a molecular level. Studies have shown that dodder vines can exchange RNA with their hosts, subtly altering the host's gene expression. In some cases, This can suppress the host's natural defenses, allowing the dodder to secure its hold even more firmly. It's as if the vine rewires the host's biological systems to serve its own needs, leaving the once healthy plant locked in a parasitic embrace. What makes this phenomenon even more fascinating is how the dodder locates its prey. Unlike plants that simply grow towards sunlight, dodder vines exhibit a kind of searching behavior. When they sprout, they twine in circles, seeking contact with a potential host. Upon finding a suitable plant, they latch on and abandon their own root systems, committing fully to their parasitic lifestyle. They can even sniff out their victims, detecting the chemical cues released by nearby plants and homing in on their targets with remarkable accuracy. This parasitic strategy has evolved over millions of years, making dodder vines highly specialized and uniquely equipped to exploit their environment. Their ability to manipulate their hosts chemically, physically, and genetically reveals an intricate co-evolutionary dance. While the host plants evolve mechanisms to resist or tolerate these intrusions, dodder vines counter-adapt, finding new ways to overcome their defenses. In many ecosystems, dodder vines play a complex ecological role. While they can weaken and damage their hosts, they also help shape plant communities, influencing competition and diversity. Their parasitism, though destructive on a small scale, contributes to the overall dynamics of the habitat, creating a balance that has persisted for millennia. Zombie plants under the control of parasitic vines remind us that the natural world is not always about harmonious coexistence. It is also a landscape of exploitation, adaptation, and survival strategies that push the boundaries of life's ingenuity. In their silent takeover, dodder vines reveal a hidden struggle that plays out in fields and forests, one where the line between life and manipulation becomes beautifully and disturbingly blurred. Myxobacteria, swarming as a coordinated wolf pack in the microscopic world of soil and decaying organic matter, where bacteria are often considered solitary, single-celled organisms, myxobacteria stand out as something altogether different. These social microbes don't just grow and divide independently. They move and hunt in highly coordinated swarms, resembling a wolf pack on the prowl. It's an extraordinary behavior for creatures so small, and it gives them a significant edge in an environment full of competition. When a group of myxobacteria encounters a food source, they aggregate, aligning their movements and working together as if they were a single, multicellular organism. Using a type of gliding motility, they spread across surfaces in waves, secreting enzymes that break down organic material. These enzymes dissolve complex polymers into simpler compounds the bacteria can absorb, turning them into an efficient feeding collective. The more bacteria in the swarm, the more potent their digestive power, allowing them to tackle larger or tougher prey than they could as individuals. This cooperative hunting strategy gives myxobacteria a distinct advantage over other microorganisms. Instead of relying on random encounters with food, they actively search for new resources and attack en masse. Their swarming behavior also makes it easier for them to compete against rival bacteria. By overwhelming competitors with sheer numbers and enzymatic prowess, they can secure territory and resources more effectively than solitary microbes. But the myxobacteria's social behavior doesn't stop at hunting. When food runs out or conditions become harsh, these microbes engage in an even more sophisticated form of cooperation. They begin a developmental process that leads to the formation of fruiting bodies, complex, multicellular structures made up of thousands of cells. Within these structures, some bacteria sacrifice themselves, dying to create spores that can survive extreme conditions. Once the environment becomes favorable again, these spores germinate, giving rise to a new generation of myxobacteria. This ability to switch between cooperative hunting and coordinated survival strategies showcases an impressive level of behavioral flexibility. It also raises questions about the evolutionary pressures that led to such complex interactions among single-celled organisms. Why would individual bacteria choose to work together rather than simply competing for resources? The answer likely lies in the long-term benefits of cooperation. By forming swarms, myxobacteria can access larger food sources and create more resilient spores, improving the chances that their genetic lineages will persist. The behavior of myxobacteria also provides valuable insights into the origins of multicellularity. Though they are not truly multicellular organisms, their cooperative swarming and fruiting body formation hint at the early evolutionary steps that might have led single-celled life to transition toward more complex, multicellular forms. Studying their behavior offers a glimpse into how primitive organisms began to communicate, coordinate, and work together for mutual survival. In the hidden world beneath our feet, myxobacteria demonstrate that even the simplest organisms can exhibit surprisingly sophisticated behaviors. Their swarming wolf pack tactics reveal the power of cooperation, showing how life at its smallest scale can achieve remarkable feats through collective effort. The kiwi-like kakapo, using a booming mating call. In the secluded forests and valleys of New Zealand, under the cover of darkness, a deep, resonant sound echoes through the trees. It's a low, booming call that travels for miles, vibrating through the ground and carrying over the misty hills. This is the mating call of the kakapo, a flightless parrot and one of the most unique and endangered birds on the planet. Though often compared to the kiwi due to its nocturnal habits and terrestrial lifestyle, the kakapo is a parrot through and through, but one unlike any other. The male kakapo's booming call is part of a rare and fascinating breeding strategy known as lekking. Instead of forming pairs or competing directly for mates, male kakapos establish small territories, called leks, where they display and call out to females. Each male prepares a bowl-shaped depression in the ground, often in a sheltered spot, that helps amplify the sound. Once his stage is ready, he begins to boom. This low-frequency call is designed to travel long distances, drawing females from far away to come and evaluate his performance. The booming is not just a random sound, it's a carefully modulated signal. Males may call repeatedly for hours each night, their tones shifting subtly to maintain the interest of potential mates. When a female arrives, the male shifts to a more traditional courtship behavior, producing soft, churring sounds and strutting his best display. If she approves, they will mate, and the female will then go off alone to lay her eggs and raise her chicks. The male, meanwhile, remains in his lek, continuing his nocturnal performances in hopes of attracting additional females. The kakapo's booming call isn't just about volume, it's also about endurance. Males may spend several weeks calling night after night during the breeding season. Their ability to sustain these extended vocal displays is a signal of fitness and vigor. In an environment where mates are scarce and competition is fierce, the males that can call the longest and the loudest have the best chance of passing on their genes. For a bird that cannot fly, the kakapo relies entirely on sound and ground-based displays to reproduce. Its slow, deliberate lifestyle and unique reproductive cycle, breeding only every few years when certain fruiting trees are abundant, make the booming call even more critical. It's a vital adaptation in a landscape that offers few opportunities for direct encounters with mates. However, the kakapo's unusual life history and reliance on booming have also contributed to its vulnerability. Habitat loss, introduced predators, and a low reproductive rate have brought the species to the brink of extinction. Today, thanks to intensive conservation efforts, the kakapo is slowly making a comeback. Wildlife managers track individuals, protect their nests, and even assist with artificial insemination to help ensure the survival of this remarkable bird. The kakapo's booming mating call is more than just a strange and haunting sound in the night. It's a testament to the bird's resilience and evolutionary creativity. In a world of predators and isolation, the kakapo has adapted a strategy that emphasizes endurance, sound, and subtlety, reminding us that even the most peculiar methods of survival have their place in nature's intricate web. Argonaut, octopuses, paper nautilus, and their paper-thin egg cases, far beneath the ocean's surface, drifting gracefully in open waters, a peculiar cephalopod moves with the gentle rhythms of the current. This is the argonaut, sometimes called the paper nautilus. Not a true nautilus, but a unique species of octopus that exhibits one of the ocean's most delicate and ingenious feats of engineering, the creation of its fragile, translucent egg case. Unlike their benthic cousins, argonauts live most of their lives suspended in the water column, where there are no reefs or rock crevices to protect their eggs. To solve this problem, the female argonaut secretes a thin, parchment-like shell that serves as both a container for her eggs and a kind of buoyancy aid. This paper-thin structure is incredibly lightweight, yet remarkably sturdy, allowing the female to protect her developing offspring while still drifting freely through the open sea. The process begins when the female argonaut uses specialized glands on two of her arms, called dorsal arms, to excrete the calcium-rich material that forms the egg case. Over time, she carefully molds it into a coiled, spiraled structure, resembling the shell of a nautilus, but much more delicate. Once complete, the female lays her eggs inside and uses the case as a protective chamber, keeping the eggs safe from predators and environmental hazards. But the egg case isn't merely a passive shield. The female argonaut carries it with her, holding onto it with her tentacles and adjusting her buoyancy by trapping air inside. This allows her to move vertically through the water column, seeking out optimal conditions for her eggs to develop. The egg case also helps protect her from predators, as its transparent yet reflective surface can confuse or deter potential threats. Argonauts are solitary, pelagic creatures, and their unusual reproductive strategy has fascinated scientists for centuries. The males, which are much smaller and do not produce egg cases, pass sperm to the females using a specialized arm called the hectocotylus. After fertilization, the male's role is done, and the female assumes full responsibility for the offspring. Once the eggs hatch, the female releases the tiny hatchlings into the open ocean, where they must fend for themselves in a world full of larger, faster predators. In their quiet, drifting lives, Argonaut octopuses remind us of the ingenuity that can arise from life's challenges. By crafting a shelter that serves as both a cradle and a buoy, the female Argonaut has adapted to the vast, featureless expanse of the open ocean, ensuring that her young have the best possible chance of survival. This delicate, ephemeral structure is a testament to the creative solutions that evolution produces, even in the most seemingly inhospitable environments. Sea slugs that photosynthesize by stealing algae's chloroplasts. Beneath the waves, where sunlight filters down into shallow coastal waters, a small, green sea slug, often no more than a couple of inches long, moves slowly across the seafloor. To the casual observer, it appears unremarkable, just another tiny grazer nibbling on algae. But the Saccoglossum sea slug, Specifically, certain species like Elysia chlorotica possesses a remarkable ability that defies traditional definitions of animal life. It can harness sunlight to generate energy. By stealing the chloroplasts from the algae it consumes, this slug essentially turns itself into a living, solar-powered organism. This extraordinary behavior begins with the slug's diet. As it feeds on algae, it doesn't simply digest everything it eats. Instead, it carefully extracts the chloroplasts, tiny, light-absorbing structures responsible for photosynthesis, and incorporates them into its own tissues. These stolen chloroplasts, now embedded within the slug's cells, continue to function, converting sunlight into chemical energy. In other words, the slug gains the ability to photosynthesize, using the sun's energy to supplement its diet. But how can a slug maintain another organism's cellular machinery? While chloroplasts typically require support from their host plant's genes, sacoglossan sea slugs appear to have taken this relationship a step further. Some evidence suggests that the slug's DNA may contain genes that help keep the stolen chloroplasts functioning. This intriguing relationship blurs the line between animal and plant, creating a hybrid-like existence that allows the slug to thrive in environments where food might otherwise be scarce. Photosynthesizing slugs also raise fascinating questions about evolution and adaptability. Over time, these sea slugs have developed a mutually beneficial relationship with their algal food source. Not a typical symbiosis, but a highly specialized form of theft that has become an integral part of their survival strategy. By integrating chloroplasts into their own cells, they gain a distinct advantage: the ability to survive longer periods without traditional food, relying instead on sunlight to meet some of their energy needs. In their quiet, sunlit world, these sea slugs showcase the boundless creativity of nature. Their unique approach to photosynthesis challenges our understanding of what it means to be an animal, demonstrating that even the most basic boundaries in biology can be bent, blurred, or crossed entirely. By co-opting the life-sustaining machinery of the algae they consume, these sea slugs have transformed themselves into living solar panels, an evolutionary innovation as surprising as it is elegant. Ostriches, running at incredible speeds on the sweeping plains and savannas of Africa, where open horizons stretch endlessly, the ostrich reigns as both the largest and fastest bird on land. With its powerful, long legs and compact body, this flightless bird is built for speed. When danger approaches, a lion stalking in the tall grass, or a pack of hyenas eyeing a meal, the ostrich doesn't fly away, it runs. And when it runs, it becomes one of nature's most astonishing sprinters. At full tilt, an ostrich can reach speeds of up to 45 miles per hour. This places it among the fastest two-legged animals on Earth. But what's even more impressive is the bird's endurance. Ostriches can maintain a high pace for extended distances, making them not only quick on their feet, but also exceptionally durable. This combination of speed and stamina allows them to outdistance most predators, ensuring their survival in the challenging environments of Africa's grasslands and deserts. The ostrich's legs are a marvel of engineering. Long, muscular, and spring-like, they are perfectly adapted for covering ground with minimal effort. Each stride can be as long as 15 feet, and the bird's tendons act as natural shock absorbers, storing and releasing energy with every step. This efficiency means that while the ostrich may appear gangly or awkward at rest, it becomes a sleek, efficient runner when in motion. Interestingly, ostriches rely on more than just their legs to escape threats. Their large, alert eyes give them an exceptional field of vision, allowing them to spot potential dangers from a great distance. Combined with their speed and agility, This sharp eyesight gives ostriches a head start in evading predators long before the chase begins. Beyond escaping predators, an ostrich's running ability also plays a role in mating displays. Males often run in elaborate patterns, showing off their speed and stamina to attract females. This demonstrates to potential mates that they are not only strong and healthy, but also capable of evading predators and securing resources, traits essential for successful reproduction. The ostrich's incredible running ability is a testament to how evolution shapes organisms to survive in their particular environments. For millions of years, these flightless birds have relied on their legs, not wings, to navigate the wide open landscapes they call home. In doing so, they remind us that adaptation isn't just about survival, it's about thriving, even in the face of the world's most formidable challenges. Mimic octopuses, shape-shifting for survival. In the shallow, sandy seafloors of Southeast Asia, a slender octopus glides across the terrain. It appears to be just another camouflaged cephalopod blending into the sandy bottom. But as a shadow passes overhead, a predator on the hunt, the octopus transforms. Its arms elongate and fan out, forming the striped, venomous shape of a lionfish. The predator hesitates, unsure of this sudden change. Before it can decide whether to attack or flee, the octopus shifts again, pulling its arms close and mimicking a sea snake's menacing form. The predator backs off, confused and outmaneuvered. This is the mimic octopus, Thormoctopus mimicus, one of the most extraordinary shapeshifters in the ocean. Unlike other octopuses that rely solely on camouflage to hide from predators, the mimic octopus takes deception to another level. It doesn't just blend into its environment, it impersonates other, often dangerous marine animals. Lionfish, sea snakes, jellyfish, flatfish, and mantis shrimp are just some of the creatures this octopus can imitate. Each transformation is deliberate, calculated, and effective. The mimic octopus's ability to impersonate so many species relies on its flexible body and highly advanced nervous system. Its muscles can lengthen, contract, and reposition its arms, while its skin changes color and texture to match the animal it's imitating. Its remarkable eyes, which detect patterns and contrast, help it choose the most appropriate disguise based on the threat or situation it faces. If one predator is deterred by venomous lionfish, the mimic octopus becomes a lionfish. If another predator is wary of the striped, venomous sea snake, it shifts to that form. What makes this strategy even more impressive is that the mimic octopus has no venom or physical defenses of its own. It relies entirely on its intelligence and adaptability. By imitating creatures that predators would rather avoid, it not only protects itself, but also conserves energy by avoiding drawn-out chases or conflicts. This extraordinary ability raises fascinating questions about evolution and behavior. How did a cephalopod develop such complex, learned mimicry? Researchers believe it's a result of millions of years of selective pressure in a predator-rich environment. Those individuals that could fake being dangerous were more likely to survive and reproduce, gradually refining their impersonations over generations. Today, the mimic octopus stands out not just for what it can do, but for how it challenges our understanding of animal intelligence and adaptation. In the mimic octopus, nature reveals its boundless creativity. This small, unassuming creature demonstrates that survival isn't just about strength or size. It's about the ability to think on your feet, or in this case, on your arms, and become something you're not. Fireflies using bioluminescence for mating signals. On warm summer nights, When the air is still and the world feels hushed, tiny lights flicker in the dark. These are fireflies, small beetles whose bioluminescent signals transform fields and forests into living constellations. What might look like simple flashing lights is actually a sophisticated form of communication, a language of love and competition written in glowing patterns. Fireflies produce their light using a chemical reaction inside specialized organs in their abdomens. This reaction involves luciferin, an enzyme called luciferase, oxygen, and a burst of energy from ATP. The result is a cold light, so efficient that almost no heat is generated. Each firefly species has its own unique flash pattern, acting as a signature. Males fly about, flashing their code, while females wait on the ground or perch on leaves, responding only to the patterns that match their species. The brighter and more consistent the male's flashes, the more likely he is to attract a mate. These flashes aren't just romantic signals, they're also fierce competition. Males strive to outshine each other, creating complex displays to prove their fitness. Some even adapt their flashing rhythms in response to rivals, trying to draw the attention of choosy females. The result is a nighttime performance where every pulse of light carries a message. Pick me, I'm the strongest. But not all fireflies are so straightforward. In some species, females have developed a deceptive tactic. Known as femme fatales, these females mimic the flash patterns of other species' females, luring unsuspecting males from those species close enough to catch and consume. This predatory strategy underscores the complex interplay of light signals in firefly behavior. What begins as a mating call can turn into a trap. Despite their glowing allure, fireflies face challenges. Habitat loss, pesticide use, and light pollution threaten their populations. Artificial lights drown out their natural signals, making it harder for males and females to find each other. Conservation efforts that focus on reducing light pollution and preserving firefly habitats aim to keep these magical creatures lighting up the night for generations to come. Fireflies remind us that nature's most beautiful displays often serve practical purposes. Their gentle glow is not just a marvel to behold, it's a carefully evolved strategy for finding mates, competing with rivals, and surviving in a complex, illuminated world. Pangolins covered in protective scales. In the forests and savannas of Africa and Asia, a solitary creature shuffles through the underbrush, its body encased in a suit of natural armor. This is the pangolin, the world's only mammal covered in tough, overlapping keratin scales. While other animals rely on speed or strength to avoid predators, the pangolin's approach is different. It becomes a living fortress. When threatened, a pangolin doesn't run or fight back. Instead, it curls into a tight ball, tucking its vulnerable head and limbs beneath the protective layers of its scales. These scales are not unlike a knight's chainmail, flexible enough to allow movement, but hard enough to deter even large predators. Lions, leopards, and hyenas often find themselves unable to penetrate the armor, leaving the pangolin unharmed. In some cases, a determined predator may paw and bite at the pangolin for hours, only to give up in frustration. But these scales are more than just a shield. They're a testament to how evolution can repurpose existing biological materials into something extraordinary. Made of keratin, the same protein found in human hair and nails, pangolin scales have evolved to be exceptionally dense and durable. This adaptation allows the pangolin to survive in habitats where few other small mammals could endure the constant threat of predation. The pangolin's uniqueness doesn't stop at its armor. It's a specialist feeder with a long, sticky tongue that can extend well beyond the length of its body. This tongue allows the pangolin to reach deep into termite mounds and ant nests, consuming thousands of insects in a single meal. Its diet keeps pest populations in check, playing a crucial role in the ecosystem. Meanwhile, its sharp claws help it tear open tough mounds, giving it access to food sources that many animals can't reach. Despite its impressive defenses, the pangolin faces threats from humans. The very scales that protect it have made it one of the most trafficked mammals in the world. Poachers target pangolins for their scales, which are used in traditional medicines, and for their meat, which is considered a delicacy in some cultures. As a result, all 8 species of pangolins are now threatened with extinction, with some listed as critically endangered. Efforts to conserve these remarkable mammals are growing, with wildlife organizations, governments, and local communities working together to protect pangolins and their habitats. Educating people about the ecological importance of pangolins and enforcing stricter anti-poaching laws are critical steps in ensuring their survival. The pangolin, with its natural armor and unique feeding habits, is a reminder of evolution's boundless creativity. In its quiet, solitary life, it shows how adaptation can take forms, as surprising and specialized as a living suit of scales. By protecting this extraordinary creature, we not only preserve a marvel of nature, but also help maintain the delicate balance of the ecosystems it calls home. Lyrebirds, mimicking complex sounds, deep in the eucalyptus forests of Australia, an exquisite symphony rises from the undergrowth. A lyrebird, renowned for its elaborate tail feathers, stands perched on a branch, its chest puffed out as it sings. But this is no ordinary bird song. The lyrebird's melody is an intricate composition of nature's greatest hits, interwoven with man-made sounds that seem almost impossible for a bird to produce. Lyrebirds are masters of mimicry, able to replicate an astonishing range of noises. In addition to the songs of other birds, they can imitate the sounds of barking dogs, chainsaws, camera shutters, car alarms, and human voices. The variety of sounds a lyrebird can reproduce is so vast that some individuals seem to have their own personal repertoires, unique to their environment and the sounds they've encountered. This mimicry isn't random. For male lyrebirds, it plays a crucial role in their courtship displays. During mating season, a male will clear a small patch of forest floor and transform it into a performance stage. Standing in the center of this arena, he unfurls his magnificent tail feathers into a shimmering fan and begins his vocal display. The more varied and complex his song, the more likely he is to attract a female. It's not just about sounding pretty, it's about showing off his ability to learn, adapt, and creatively combine sounds. A male with a more impressive vocal performance is thought to be stronger, smarter, and more resourceful, qualities that females find appealing. But how do lyrebirds manage such incredible mimicry? Their vocal anatomy is remarkably flexible, allowing them to produce a wide range of tones, pitches, and rhythms. They don't just repeat sounds mechanically, they listen, process, and then replicate them with remarkable accuracy. A lyrebird's song is not a simple copy. It's a carefully curated collection of sounds that demonstrate its vocal prowess. Beyond their mating displays, lyrebirds' mimicry has led to fascinating interactions with humans. In some regions, lyrebirds have learned to imitate the sound of logging equipment or chainsaws, an eerie reminder of how closely their lives are tied to their forest habitats. These imitations can be so convincing that even experienced naturalists have been fooled. Lyrebirds' mimicry raises intriguing questions about animal intelligence, learning, and creativity. By studying their songs, scientists gain insights into how complex behaviors evolve and what they can tell us about communication in the animal kingdom. While most birds sing to mark territory or attract mates, lyrebirds have elevated vocalization into an art form, turning the forest into their concert hall. As these avian virtuosos perform their intricate medleys, they remind us of the boundless creativity found in nature. The lyrebird's astonishing mimicry is more than just an entertaining spectacle. It's a window into the ingenuity of evolution and the deep connections between sound, survival, and beauty in the natural world. Glass frogs, transparent bellies, high in the cloud forests of Central and South America, where mist shrouds the leaves and the air hums with the calls of frogs and insects. A tiny amphibian clings to the underside of a leaf. Its lime green back helps it blend seamlessly into the foliage, but flip it over, and you'll discover its most extraordinary feature, a belly so transparent you can see its beating heart and tiny organs. This is the glass frog, an enchanting creature whose translucent body is a marvel of evolutionary ingenuity. Most glass frogs are no larger than an inch or two, making their delicate frames ideal for perching on leaves above rushing mountain streams. By day, they rest motionless on the underside of leaves, relying on their camouflage and transparency to evade predators. By night, they emerge to feed on small insects and to mate. Males call out with gentle, peeping calls, attracting females to their carefully chosen leaf perches. Once a pair mates, the female lays a cluster of eggs on the underside of a leaf, where the male stands guard, fending off predators and keeping the eggs moist. But why are their bellies so transparent? While the exact reason remains a subject of scientific curiosity, one leading hypothesis is that their see-through undersides help them blend into their surroundings even better. When sunlight filters through the leaf canopy, the translucent belly allows the frog's outline to fade into the dappled light. Instead of casting a solid silhouette, the glass frog becomes an extension of the leaf, fooling predators that rely on sight to locate their prey. This transparency also provides researchers with a unique window into the frog's biology. By observing the beating heart and other internal organs, scientists can study their physiology without invasive procedures. This has helped researchers understand how these frogs thrive in their high-altitude environments, where oxygen levels are lower and conditions can be challenging. The glass frog's habitat is fragile, however. Cloud forests are highly sensitive ecosystems, and deforestation, climate change, and pollution threaten the streams and trees that these frogs depend on. Conservation efforts aimed at protecting these pristine environments are critical for ensuring the survival of the glass frog and the countless other species that share its unique habitat. Glass frogs remind us that nature's most delicate creatures often possess the most extraordinary adaptations. Their transparent bodies blur the line between visibility and invisibility, creating a magical illusion that allows them to thrive in one of the most biodiverse regions on Earth. As they cling silently to their leafy perches, glass frogs embody the hidden wonders of the natural world, inviting us to look closer and appreciate the beauty of life's subtle intricacies. Giant clams housing symbiotic algae. On the shallow coral reefs of the Indo-Pacific, where sunlight dances through crystal clear waters, a giant clam sits firmly anchored to the sea floor. Its massive shell can grow up to 4 feet wide and weigh over 500 pounds, making it the largest bivalve on the planet. Though it appears stationary and serene, the giant clam is a dynamic ecosystem in its own right, a partnership between animal and plant that turns sunlight into sustenance. The secret lies in the clam's unique relationship with symbiotic algae. Within the tissues of its vibrant mantle, millions of microscopic algae called zooxanthellae live and thrive. These algae perform photosynthesis, capturing sunlight and using it to produce sugars and oxygen. The clam, in turn, absorbs these sugars, providing it with a steady, renewable source of energy. In exchange, the algae gain a safe, nutrient-rich environment, protected within the clam's flesh. This partnership allows the giant clam to thrive in nutrient-poor waters where other filter feeders struggle. Unlike most clams that rely solely on plankton filtered from the water, the giant clam can draw much of its energy directly from sunlight. Its large, exposed mantle, often a dazzling display of blues, greens, and golds, maximizes surface area for sunlight absorption. The intricate, often iridescent patterns on the mantle aren't just for show. They help control the intensity of light reaching the algae, ensuring optimal photosynthetic conditions. Over millions of years, this symbiosis has shaped the giant clam's evolution. With a reliable internal energy source, the clam no longer needs to move in search of food. Instead, it remains fixed to one spot, growing steadily larger and becoming an integral part of the reef ecosystem. Its sheer size and presence help stabilize coral structures, and its waste products fertilize nearby plants and algae, supporting a wider web of marine life. But the giant clam's dependence on symbiotic algae also makes it vulnerable to changes in its environment. Rising sea temperatures and increased pollution can disrupt the delicate balance of this partnership. If the algae becomes stressed or die, the clam loses its primary energy source, leading to potential decline. Conservation efforts aimed at protecting coral reefs and reducing pollution are essential to ensuring the survival of these remarkable bivalves. The giant clam is more than just a stationary fixture on the reef. It's a living example of nature's ingenuity, an organism that has turned sunlight into a lifeline by forging a partnership with microscopic algae. Together, they thrive in one of the most challenging environments on Earth, offering a vivid reminder of how life's greatest adaptations often arise from cooperation. Bombardier beetles spraying boiling chemicals. Hidden in the leaf litter of forests and fields, a small, unassuming beetle lies in wait. But when a predator approaches, perhaps an inquisitive bird or a curious frog, it gets more than it bargained for. The bombardier beetle releases a sudden, explosive burst of boiling chemicals, scorching the would-be attacker and ensuring a quick escape. For a creature only a few millimeters long, the bombardier beetle's defense mechanism is as remarkable as it is intimidating. The beetle's chemical arsenal is a product of evolutionary innovation. It carries two separate chemical precursors in its abdomen, hydroquinones and hydrogen peroxide, stored in specialized reservoirs. When threatened, the beetle pumps these precursors into a reaction chamber lined with enzymes. The enzymes act as a catalyst, rapidly converting the chemicals into a highly reactive mixture. This reaction generates intense heat and pressure, causing the liquid to boil and release a toxic spray of quinones and steam. What makes the bombardier beetle's defense truly extraordinary is its precision. The beetle doesn't just release a random burst of chemicals. It can aim its spray in nearly any direction, adjusting the angle of its abdomen to hit predators wherever they attack. This accuracy ensures that the beetle's limited resources are used efficiently, delivering maximum impact with minimal waste. Despite the violent nature of the reaction, the bombardier beetle's internal anatomy prevents it from harming itself. The reaction chamber's walls are reinforced to withstand the pressure, and a well-timed valve system ensures that the chemicals mix only at the moment of release. This finely tuned system allows the beetle to produce multiple sprays in rapid succession if needed, giving it a sustained defense against persistent threats. In the world of insects, the bombardier beetle is a tiny alchemist, transforming simple chemicals into a potent, boiling spray. Its explosive defense reminds us that evolution's most impressive innovations often arise from the need to survive, and that even the smallest creatures can wield extraordinary power. Star-nosed moles' super-sensitive snouts. In the shadowy depths of North America's marshy soil, a star-nosed mole burrows through the mud with uncanny efficiency. Though it lives out of sight, its face is unforgettable. A peculiar circle of pink, fleshy appendages surrounds its snout, looking like a burst of tiny tentacles. This odd-looking structure isn't just a quirk of evolution. It's one of the most sensitive touch organs in the entire animal kingdom. The star-nosed mole's star consists of 22 small, flexible appendages known as rays. These rays are densely packed with specialized sensory receptors called Eimer's organs, more than 25,000 of them. Each organ is capable of detecting the slightest pressure or texture, allowing the mole to identify and evaluate objects or prey with remarkable speed and precision. In fact, this mole is the fastest known mammalian forager. It can locate, assess, and consume a small prey item in less than 230 milliseconds, faster than a human can blink. Because the star-nosed mole lives in darkness, it doesn't rely on sight. Instead, its star acts as a tactile eye, scanning its surroundings through touch. The mole constantly moves its nose back and forth, sweeping the rays over soil, water, and organic debris. The star is so sensitive that it can distinguish between grains of sand and silt, helping the mole find worms, insect larvae, and small aquatic invertebrates that other predators might overlook. This mole's unique anatomy is not just about speed. The star's outer rays are used for initial scanning, while the shorter central rays provide a more detailed examination of potential food. Once the mole encounters a promising object, it quickly shifts the item to the center of its star to confirm whether it's edible. This efficient process allows the star-nosed mole to thrive in environments where other animals would struggle to find enough food. Its adaptations extend beyond the star itself. The mole's powerful front claws and streamlined body allow it to dig through saturated soil and swim through water with ease. Unlike many burrowing mammals, the star-nosed mole is semi-aquatic, capable of hunting for prey underwater. It even blows bubbles while submerged, inhaling them back in to smell its prey, a unique behavior that further highlights its sensory mastery. In their swampy habitats, star-nosed moles remind us that even the most unusual features can be finely tuned instruments of survival. Their star-shaped noses may look alien to us, but they are a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering, perfectly adapted to the dark, damp world beneath the surface. By turning touch into a powerful tool, these moles demonstrate that nature's solutions are as diverse as the challenges it presents. Archerfish, shooting down prey. In the calm waters of Southeast Asia's mangroves, rivers, and estuaries, a small, silvery fish floats beneath the surface, scanning the overhanging vegetation. Above the water, a low-hanging leaf trembles slightly as an insect shifts its weight. The archerfish locks onto its target. Without breaking the water's surface, it takes aim. With a quick snap of its mouth, it spits a perfectly calibrated jet of water. The droplet arcs through the air, striking the insect dead on and knocking it into the water, where the archerfish quickly snaps it up. This impressive feat isn't a random trick. It's a carefully honed hunting strategy that sets the archerfish apart from most other fish. Its shot is not just about hitting the insect. It's about timing, distance, and precision. Archerfish have to account for refraction, the bending of light as it passes from air into water. This means that to accurately hit a target, they must aim where the insect actually is, not where it appears to be. This requires a sophisticated understanding of angles and trajectories, which archerfish achieve through a combination of instinct, learning, and experience. The archerfish's remarkable accuracy can improve with practice. Young archerfish start out less precise, but as they repeatedly fire at targets, they refine their aim. Over time, they can hit insects from remarkable distances, sometimes over 3 feet away, and adjust their shots to account for different heights, angles, and wind conditions. This level of adaptability has earned them the nickname Sniper of the Fish World. Archerfish don't rely solely on their shooting ability. They also excel at spotting potential prey. Their upward-facing eyes are highly specialized for detecting small movements on leaves and branches. Once they spot an insect, they can judge the range and fire a water jet strong enough to dislodge it but controlled enough to keep the prey from being splashed too far away. What's even more fascinating is the potential for cooperation. In some cases, archerfish have been observed shooting at the same target in a coordinated effort, increasing the chances of bringing down a particularly stubborn insect. This suggests a level of social behavior that goes beyond simple feeding and hints at more complex interactions in their natural environments. While their hunting technique may be their most famous trait, archerfish also have a keen awareness of their surroundings and can adapt their strategies to different conditions. They are excellent problem solvers, able to find alternative food sources or adjust their shooting style depending on the situation. In their watery world, archerfish remind us that intelligence and innovation are not limited to mammals or birds. Even a small, unassuming fish can demonstrate extraordinary precision, adaptability, and teamwork, traits that make the archerfish's shooting behavior one of nature's most fascinating adaptations.